All right, I'd like to call to order the Bedford Township Planning Commission meeting for January 28th, 2026. It is 7 o'clock p.m. Let's stand for the pledge. All right, in the absence of our secretary, Jody, could you call the roll, please?
Yes, Mr. Montry.
Aye.
Mr. Walters.
Here.
Aye.
Mr. Bushman.
Here.
Mr. Bushman. Here. Mr. Lake.
Here.
Mr. Andrews.
Here.
Mr. Tremblay and Mr. Dirks are both excused.
All right, thank you. Item number 4 for tonight, approval of the agenda.
Make a motion we approve the agenda as stated.
Support.
All right, all in favor of approving the agenda, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? All right, agenda approved. Moving on to item 5, approval of the minutes from our meeting on January 14th, 2026.
Make a motion we approve the minutes of our January 14th, 2026 meeting.
Support.
All right, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All right, minutes approved. Moving on to item number 6, public comment. Anyone from the public wish to speak? And I may remind you that this public comment is limited to agenda items only, so that would be the site plan approval and the CIP items. Anyone from the public? Please just say your name and address for the record.
Gail Kane, Temperance. I didn't get a chance to look at the plans. They just showed up. So, but my question that I would have on this basic concept is that it's not a matter of what is being put up, it's the numbers and how tight that is in that neck of the woods over there behind the post office and Collins Accounting and stuff. And the other question would be is if these are being put in like the rest of his developments where they're VRBOs. They're not actually there to provide housing, so to speak. They're there for, they advertise them as vacation rental by owner. So I was curious if that's what this setup is all about. But it just looks a little dense, and I know that people would like to have some apartments, but again, the number of cars, the parking, and all that traffic impact right there on that corner, I would have a little bit of concern with the numbers, that's all. And I've not watched any of the other ones, so I don't know what he's been through. Jody said he had to make some adjustments and stuff, so I'm not informed on those. And that would be about it. I'm very curious to see what the CIP plan is going to be, what's going to get pulled out so that you guys don't have control on that. So thanks.
Thank you, Ms. Keene. Anyone else from the public wish to speak? Okay. Seeing none, we'll move on to item 7A, new business, request for final site plan approval for Village Meadows Holdings LLC for a 17-unit, 2-story apartment community, the Towns at Village Center, to include a single-story meter house located on parcel number 580201912515, otherwise known as 3340 West Dean Road, Lambertville, Michigan. Jody, could you introduce this topic for us?
Yes, again, the applicant is Village Meadows Holdings, 9410 Village Meadows Drive. It's for apartments for the Towns at Village Center, located at 3340 West Dean Road, parcel number 580201912515. The site area consists of approximately 1.704 acres and is zoned RM1 LVOD, multiple family residential located within the Lambertville Village Overlay District with approximately 337 feet of frontage on Dean Road. The developer has submitted a site plan for 3 buildings with a total of 16 2-story and 1 single-story apartments or units to include in Building 3 a single-story meter house located at the south end of the building. The developer is seeking approval of the entire site plan and is not phasing the project. In Building 1, I'm going to actually go to the site plan so you can see as I speak on it. In Building 1, 5 2-story, 3-bedroom family living units. Building 2, 5 2-story, 3-bedroom family living units. And Building 3 is 1 single-story, 1-bedroom ADA family living 6 two-story, two-bedroom family living units, and then 1-story meter house on the south end of the building. The surrounding zoning districts, the properties to the west of the subject site are zoned single-family residential located within the Lambertville Village Overlay District, to the north C2 in the Overlay District, and to the south R3 in the Overlay and C1, and to the east RT and RM1, all located within the Overlay District. Principal municipal water and sewer is available to the site. Storm sewers and the drive will be private. The landscaping plan, the overall site meets the landscape requirements, section 400-1702B, and per section 41907.12, landscaping of the detention basin, which requires 1 deciduous shade or evergreen tree and 10 shrubs planted for every 100 lineal feet of pond perimeter is measured along the top of the bank elevation. The trees and shrubs shall be planted in a random pattern or groups. However, due to the location of the detention ponds, road access, and utilities, per section 41907.20D, there is no additional landscaping provided, and modification to landscape may be modified by the Planning Commission. And I did include that language in your packet. Lighting, per section 418.02B, lighting, all exterior lighting within the overlay district shall comply with the following requirements. Exterior lighting shall be designed to reflect the architectural character of the area and shall comply with a coordinated lighting system if on is designated for the overlay. Exterior lighting which is provided for parking and access areas for the customer, occupant, or employee entrances shall be so arranged to reflect away from the adjoining residential properties located in the overlay, and ground-mounted lighting shall have a maximum height of 20 feet. Building-mounted lighting shall not project more than 12 inches into the public right-of-way and shall be placed a minimum of 8 feet above grade. Building on the roof-mounted lighting intended to attract attention to the building and/or use and not strictly designed for a security purpose shall not be permitted, and temporary holiday lighting and decorations are permitted for a period not to exceed 45 days. The site plan indicates there will be one 15-foot light pole located in the rear of the proposed location of the dumpster enclosure and one 15-foot light pole at the entrance at the west side. Architectural rendering, buildings 1 and 2 are 2-story, 3-bedroom with attached garages, and building 3 is a 2-story, 2-bedroom to include a 1-story bedroom without garages. Dumpster is proposed to be located on the east side of the property, north of the parking area for building 3, and as shown the proposed screening, tree, white pines, and to include an 8-foot solid white vinyl privacy fence enclosure with matching gates. Parking, per section 417.02, parking requirements within the Lambertville Overlay District. A total of 17 parking spaces is required, where 36 spaces are provided on the site plan. Sidewalks, there are existing sidewalks on Secor Road, and the applicant has provided sidewalks down Dean into the site along Building 3. Signage, per section 417.02B13, sign requirements, 1 monument sign up to 40 square feet in area and 4 feet in height shall be permitted on each parcel or lot within the overlay, which shall comply to the use on that parcel or lot. Alternate freestanding signs may be approved by the Planning Commission where the intent of the overlay district is better served by such alternative, such as, but not limited to, the size and scale of the building or lot rather than the strict interpretation of this requirement. The applicant developer is requesting the Planning Commission to approve the existing sign located on the southeast corner of the site as presented. The Planning Commission has not received no dimensions provided for an overall square footage or height determining on what is required by ordinance. Approval letters have been received from the Mannequin Smith Group dated 1/21/26. Monroe County Drain Commission conditionally approved 1/12/2026. We did receive an updated letter today approving the plans. Monroe County Drain Commission Soil Erosion Sedimentation Control 1/13/2026. Monroe County Road Commission dated 1/12/30/2025, and the Bedford Township Fire Department dated 1/6/2026. Any motion to approve shall be contingent upon the applicant resubmitting and addressing all conditions and comments in the Mannequin Smith, Monroe County Road, Monroe County Drain, Bedford Township Fire Department, and the Monroe County Drain Commission in regards to soil erosion and sedimentation control to move forward with review and approval through the Building Department. Also, the applicant shall continue to work with the Monroe County Drain Commission on approvals for the soil and sedimentation control permit. The applicant is here.
Thanks, Jody. Is the applicant present? You want to come up and maybe add anything to Jody's summary? Though it was thorough. Thank you, Jody. You could just state your name and address for the record, please.
Bryce Bankowski, 9410 Village Meadows Drive. I think Jody did a pretty good job covering it all.
Okay, thanks.
You can scroll through the pages,
Yeah, could you maybe just pan to that?
kind of touch base on them.
And before we,
I'll give you this copy, Bruce, that way that if they have any questions, you can,
Okay.
this is what I have.
there you go.
The applicant has brought in the new set of plans that were amended by the Drain Commission's comments, but this is the last view that we have is the ones that are presented tonight. We show the parking requirements, meets the intent of the ordinance. We did speak with the engineer. There's a few errors that needed to be corrected on the plan. The zoning was incorrect. The zoning of the neighboring properties highlighted here needed correction. It's actually zone RM1 in the old Lambertville Village overlay. We just want to confirm it was single family. It had gone through a rezoning a couple years back. So we just want to make sure these and the existing zoning districts comply with what is zoned today and not previous. So we can look here, the sidewalks coming in, and then it has access to the front of these buildings. These buildings have garages, kind of difficult to put a sidewalk across the front. And then he did extend the sidewalk to go to the west, should they ever be extended, additional development moving. The overlay allows for that flexibility of uses. Here is where the dumpster is located. Here is where the sign, I think they're going to move it. It's a little bit, once the survey was completed, it crosses the boundary line, so it will be moved over onto this existing site that it's serving. Landscaping, there's landscaping in front of each of these units, trees around the dumpster in the back.
There are some bushes in front of the other building there too, between the sidewalk and the building.
Oh, here?
Yeah.
Okay, so there is some landscaping here?
Yeah.
Okay. And then also, my information regarding the detention pond, our ordinance does require landscaping around the detention pond. And in this case, in speaking with the road and the drain commission on those, the feasibility to be able to put them and maintain them around these two detention ponds in proximity to the road, these site utilities coming in, would be difficult, I believe, even for the applicant to keep them alive and have to keep, but it will be sodded and treated for grassy area around it. This is the rendering of the enclosure, and it has then the lighting fixtures on there. And then this is the architectural, showing buildings 1 and 2 with the attached garage. The architecture, I believe, from the rendering, I'm assuming, and Mr. Bankowski can clarify, similar to what is on Seaport Road.
Yeah.
Are you looking at the black and white aesthetics as well?
Yeah.
Just for clarification.
Okay.
And then these would be then the buildings. This is the single story. This is the meter house at this end, and then these would be the 2 stories with no attached garages. Light poles. We have one back here by the dumpster, and then we did encourage, as our ordinance requires for residential development, and Dean Road being somewhat diminished in lighting in this area, we did require one at the entrance for lighting purposes, and being the sign is down here and the entrance farther down from the intersection of Secor. Detail on the light poles, giving the height that was inserted. It was actually from the building plans that were submitted. But other than that, if anybody has any questions or wants me to go back to another page, or questions for Mr. Bankowski.
Sure. Yeah, let's open it up to questions from the commission here. But I guess before we proceed with that, I just wanted to mention that we are 2 members short tonight.
Okay.
And you'll need 4 affirmative votes to get approval. So 4 of 5 instead of
Okay.
4 of 7. So you have the option to table this for a future meeting, or we can proceed during this meeting.
We can proceed.
Okay.
Thank you.
That's good. All right, anyone from the commission have any comments or questions on the site plans here?
I do have a couple comments, but some questions more than anything. I know the Drain Commission letter did comment on wetlands on one notice, and I know on the title sheet it says there are no wetlands. So make sure that's clarified clearly on the plans, and I don't believe this is a situation we would have any jurisdictional wetlands. So make sure any of those notes are corrected.
Okay.
On the topo, I'd hoped that some of the new development that you had done on Secor had shown up, because it appears the topo that was used by the engineer is about 15 years old. And I'd hoped to see the proximity of some of your buildings, because I think, how close are your buildings to the back property line? I think they're like 10 or 15 feet.
Yeah.
So they're pretty close to the
Yeah.
property line. And I was just wondering if you were going to do any sort of anything between the two properties at all to buffer that, or landscape-wise or
Yeah,
fencing-wise?
I plan on putting in some kind of fence between, on the existing duplex parcels, putting privacy fence back there.
Okay. Yeah, because I realized after looking at some of the aerial photography that they are pretty close to that back. The existing buildings are, so.
Yeah.
I do applaud you for, the sidewalk you're putting in on Dean, because I think the more we put in sidewalks, eventually these sidewalks to nowhere will connect.
Yeah,
And
yeah, absolutely.
so, but it did appear that unfortunately the only place that the water meter pit is smack dab in the middle of the sidewalk and the manhole. So I looked at it and I couldn't really find a good way to shift it. So hopefully the contractor will be careful with that and make sure that everything's flush with the sidewalk. And
Yeah, we tried getting it all put into that meter room on the building, but water department didn't like that. They wanted it out at the
street, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's unfortunate, but with the curb, the pavement, the detention pond and all, doesn't look like you can do much with that. The one thing I would encourage, though, is that I see you have no light pole at the back of the site. I think we all know how dark it is back there, and it's remaining trees and stuff. And just from a safety standpoint, I would recommend a light pole at the north end of the parking lot on the north building.
Okay, we do, we are going to have the fronts of all those units lit with photo cells, so they'll come on at dusk.
The fronts of the buildings.
Oh.
Yeah, I saw that you did have some lighting. It just seemed like with the traffic back there, how dark that is,
Maybe put a
another
light
pole
pole.
back there probably would be a smart thing, just from a safety standpoint.
Okay.
Other than that, given the approvals, I have no other concerns.
Mr. Chair,
Sure.
if I may? Just to give some further clarification on Mr. Bushman's comments regarding the setback area. These parcels here, the buildings do sit close to the property line. It was granted a variance before those were constructed. And the setback from this building to the new property line is the 30 feet that is required by the overlay district. It does allow for that flexibility where normally on multifamily buildings, it would be by the length and the height of the building, but in the overlay, multifamily is only required 30 feet for a rear yard setback. But these three parcels here, the structures are closer to the property line, but they were granted a variance on that setback, just for clarification, because you would have known that on the BZA.
Thank you, Jody. On the comment, you mentioned a privacy fence to screen from the adjacent properties. I guess just to confirm, could you show where you were thinking? Because it's not shown on the plans, any fencing.
Yeah, the fencing would be on right there on the properties,
So between
the existing
units.
properties there.
Between the ones that you already built.
Yeah.
Are you thinking about any type of screening? It doesn't look like anything's shown on the westerly or northwesterly properties, because I think there's a couple backyards that back up over there.
So the north side is the post office there.
Yep.
And then the west side, the neighbor put in a privacy fence. not at Collins, but yeah.
In the back there?
That stretch has a privacy fence there, yeah.
Okay. And then as it relates to lighting, you mentioned lighting on the buildings. Is that going to look similar to the existing units out along Secor there? They're just like right at the front door. They don't.
Yeah.
They don't project very far.
No. Yeah, it's just like porch lights and yeah, but those will be automatic, come on at night.
So you're moving the sign. The current monument sign is getting moved.
Yes,
Are you adjusting the design at all, or is it going to stay?
it's going to
same
stay
sign? Okay.
stay how it is. Yeah.
So just looking and eyeballing that, it's less than 4 feet tall and less than 40 square feet in size, which is in line with our zoning ordinances for monument signs. I think you had a picture in there somewhere. So that's just getting shifted, I guess, on this photo to the left.
They'll
across
go to the
property.
left and then
Farther over by the detention rate.
yeah, maybe back. Yeah. I guess probably straight west. Yeah.
Okay. So I don't see a conflict or problem as it relates to our ordinances there, which is good. I guess one more from me. On the landscaping front, so you didn't show the landscaping around the detention pond. Could you maybe just elaborate? I know you said there's some practical difficulty with some existing utilities, but could you maybe just elaborate on how you can't fit a couple?
So the
Evergreens.
detention pond is coming pretty tight to that sidewalk there. So there wasn't really any space to get that in. I would like to, once we get stuff graded out, if we can add it, I would like to do that. I think it'll be a benefit to everybody, but the engineer didn't want to show it on there because it's tight and then not be able to get it in.
That is correct. This detention pond on the east side of the property is going to be somewhat difficult because you still have to have access to the meter pit and for the water meter. But maybe on this side, I think that Mr. Bankowski is correct that if he showed it on the plan and the planning commission approved it, he's required to put it in, and then the maintenance of it and keeping them viable for plantings. So if at all possible, I think it would be beneficial to his tenants if he puts some landscaping to buffer that from Dean Road. But it is tight there, and to be able then to still maintain the detention pond as well.
Yeah, especially, I mean, the easterly detention area that's really tight to the right of way there. You might be able to squeeze something in on the westerly one.
Yeah, which if we can get them in once everything's graded out, I definitely want to do that.
And I don't think the Drain Commission commented on the proximity of that detention area to the right of way, but I mean, it's like right up on there. That wasn't a comment. That's
Right.
all clear. That's
Right.
okay.
And I don't think they're opposed to it if the developer wants to put trees up. We're not going to tell him he can't put trees back up there, but the maintenance of them and then proximity, especially on that easterly pond, was somewhat problematic.
Fair enough. Did anyone else have comments or questions?
For any comments or questions, I think Mr. Bushman covered it pretty well. Nice to have somebody that really knows what they're talking about here on the committee. No, I think overall this is a good continuation. I think we already knew this was coming when the first plan came through several years back, and I do remember that variance. I think I was on the BZA when we granted that because we had needed to fit in parking at the road there. So I do remember that variance and why it was granted. Other than that, I think it's a pretty good plan. I've got no issues.
Okay, thanks, Jake. Anybody else? My left?
Nothing from me.
Okay.
So, well, I guess maybe I have something for Jody, just to clarify. What do we have as far as a motion? What do we need to have contingencies? it sounded like some things were good and that maybe there is still something out there, but I wanted to just make sure we had that clarified.
I would include everything that I say that at the end of the analysis still, that even though they've been commented on, because he still has to work through the finals of construction drawings on the development, I would include everything that I have and then any determination on the sign. And if you have discussion, to leave it open-ended for the detention pond, should there be desire to still have plantings. Those both will need to be included in any motion. The signage approval, if you're going to approve the sign as it's rendering and submitted, and allowing it to move to the westerly of the property, and then of course the variation from the requirement of the detention pond landscaping. Was that clear?
Question on that. The landscaping around the pond. So I think as a group, we're not saying it has to be done, knowing that it's a desire by the applicant to put landscaping in there if it's possible. I don't know that we want to state that it needs to be done at this time.
I think we need to at least state that we grant him a variation from what our ordinance requires, which is screening every 100 feet.
Okay.
But yeah, I'm in agreement with that, Jake. I don't think we need to dictate that. You know, if you can pull it off, that'd be great. I think you could really, increase the curb appeal. But
Absolutely.
you have to see once you start digging holes if that's practical. So, and then Barry, you had a comment related to light pole and privacy fence. So do we want to maybe include in the motion that privacy fence be shown on the plans, and an additional light pole be shown on the plans?
I wrote down light post. I think that's appropriate. The privacy fence, it's already going up, so should we have it in the plan or not? I'm on the fence on that, no pun intended, on whether or not the fence is a part of the plan.
If I may?
Sure, may.
If you don't include it in the motion, should the project not be owned by Mr. Bankowski, there's no requirement then to go back and require it if it's ever removed.
Good point.
I did have one other question. I noticed on the Drain Commission comments that the storm sewers are quite shallow, because I know the storm sewer along Secor Road is very shallow. I assume these are intended to be fully grassed and mowed regularly.
The ponds?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that, I know how they can get to look after a while, and they're right in front of your development.
Yeah.
And hopefully, if they're very shallow, which I don't have the depth on them on the plans we have, but I assume they're fairly shallow and can be mowed
Yeah, and that's
regularly and
pretty dry.
as part of the rest
So
of the site.
I'm hoping they stay dry and we can keep them mowed nice.
Okay. No other comments or questions? If not, looking for a motion.
I will be happy to make a motion here, and of course, if there are any friendly amendments that I miss, please go ahead and make it known. I'll make a motion to approve the plan as stated, contingent upon the applicant resubmitting and addressing all conditions, comments in Manikin Smith Group, Monroe County Road Commission, Monroe County Drainage Commission, Bedford Township Fire Department, and we got MCDC twice, so I don't think we needed that, but
We have it twice because soil erosion is separate.
I gotcha. And also Monroe County Road or Monroe County Drainage Commission in regards to soil erosion sedimentation control to move forward with review and approval through the building department. Also, the applicant shall continue to work with the Monroe County Drain Commission on approval in regards to soil erosion and sedimentation control. Also, we'll also want to see a plan with the light post at the north end of the property. We will approve the movement of the current monument sign to the location designated on the plan. We'll grant a variance for screening around retention ponds, and also would like to see the privacy fence between existing Secor Road properties and Building 3.
Support.
Support for Mr. Montry. Jody, could you please call the roll?
Mr. Lake?
Yes.
Mr. Montry?
Aye.
Mr. Walters?
Yes.
Mr. Bushman? Yes. Mr. Andrews?
Yes.
Motion carried.
Thank you.
Good luck.
Thanks.
Thank you.
All right, moving on to item 8A. This old business, discussion on recommendation of approval to the Township Board, the capital improvements plan for fiscal year 2027. So we're going to do some pivoting here. Bob Miller has joined us, and he's going to plug in so that we can look at the spreadsheet version of the CIP. But we do have representation from Supervisor's Office
Right.
And I believe the Park Commission.
and the
Yep.
Park Commission. John, how are you? And then Pat Mahoney's also here, and I'm going to let him
And
speak.
I was going to say, Mr. Mahoney is present as well, as he had worked for many months, almost a year on the CIP, and he's done a lot of work, and we thought it was, Mr. Andrews thought it was beneficial for him to come back and provide some further information because he had done a lot of work on spreadsheets.
So we'll see how this unfolds. The intent is this to be a workshop, but maybe, Bob, if you could just introduce what we're looking to achieve tonight with the CIP, and then maybe some questions if there are any that we need to answer.
Yep. I'll start with a real high overview. The fixed asset replacement schedule has multiple funds in it. The fund we're talking about tonight is Fund 446, which is the TURF, which is stands for Township Improvement Revolving Fund. That is for public structures. The other funds involved are Fund 447, which is the Capital Asset Replacement Schedule, 2 fire department funds, Metro Act fund, and sewer plant funds. So that all encompasses the fixed asset replacement schedule. But for tonight, it's Fund 446.
Bob, I don't know if this is appropriate time. One of my questions was that I just hadn't thought about prior to this evening, actually. Where do vehicles fall?
That would be in Fund 447. Anything that's not a public structure,
Okay.
and it's not fire department, and it's not sewer, will be in Fund 447.
Okay. I just heard when you said that, I didn't hear. I was listening for vehicles, and you didn't say, so I just was okay.
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so in this spreadsheet that has been distributed, hopefully everyone's had the chance to at least take a look at it ahead of this meeting. We have a number of items listed by row, projects, and structures that the township needs to plan for future replacement of. Most of these items, in fact, like 75% of them are Parks Commission items. So maybe the best way to start would be to cover assets under the supervisors
Yeah, we can go through ours
first, and then maybe we could talk parks afterwards. And I think there's maybe one item for the clerk that we could also speak to. But if you could just maybe run through, Al, the assets listed for the supervisor's office, and maybe we could just speak to.
Okay, yeah, we can do that. In terms of, let's start out with the Township Hall floor. We are going to be doing the lower level. We'll be doing the upper level later on. The lower level is in bad shape. The next is the HVAC, which actually funds needed. That figure's probably a little low in today's dollars due to our air handlers. That number might be more 150 to 170 in terms of cost. Our air handlers, when we had them checked last, we were told we might get another 5 years out of them. With air handlers, the longer you can keep them going, better off you are. But there also comes a time where it's like you don't want to put any more money into them. So some of this stuff we've had checked by mechanical engineers and so on to kind of give us a better idea of what we're doing. So that's something that might want to get a little boosted. The roof, you know, this building was built in, what, 2007, Barry, I think it was, roughly? Yeah. Most roofs last about 30 years. So we're coming up on that time pretty soon, maybe 5 years down the road, 6 years. But the thing that we would want to probably consider there, instead of doing an asphalt shingle roof again, probably doing a metal roof. More expensive, but you can easily get a 40 to 50-year roof out of that. So that's something that we've taken a look at. The next thing that we're taking a look at, which one is this right here that we had? Got the roof, okay. Okay, now we're going down. The other big cost that we take a look at, Township Hall and Substation Rehab. When you walk around a building, you got to remember one day it's going to change inside, whether things wear out, whether you need to have it painted, you need to get carpet, you may need to change lighting again, and so on. I can just point out in this room, I'd hate to tell you how much this room right here would cost to paint. Why? I've got 3 different colors going on. You got chair rail, you got a lot of stuff, and that all adds up pretty quick. So this building has actually been pretty durable, but there are areas that we do need to paint. But that number needs to continue to grow in terms of what we might need to do down the road. I probably won't be here when you need to totally rehab it, but me and Barry might be somewhere playing golf, right, Barry? Right, exactly. So the rehab that we have. The other thing that we're taking a look at, if we go to the maintenance building, in terms of that, even though if you talk to any engineering firm, and Barry can attest to this, is that when you build a new building, your capital improvement plan should start that day, because those, yeah, exactly. And I've talked to people like from GEM and so on, and having been in the construction business for 20 years, I know things don't last forever. So now you start taking a look at, and we'll be getting all our manuals like, okay, how long is that heating system going to last? How long is this going to last? What about the doors? Are the doors on there going to be 15 years, 20 years, and so on? So we're going to take a look at all that so that when the time comes, the next generation can say, yes, there's money in there to do what you need to do. And I've lived in this community for 40 years, and I have to applaud the work that Brad, Pat, and you all have done, because we never had this before. So everything was always reactionary. And
exactly. We've talked about it a bunch here. It's why this whole thing currently is so goofy. Is right. We're just now starting. Oh yeah, the roof from 30 years ago needs replaced, and we got 2 years to plan for it.
Right.
As opposed to this should.
Yeah, if you'd been doing this,
this should have been
5 years. Exactly.
It had already been taken care of and money set aside.
Exactly. So that's it's major back there. Even though it looks brand new today, one day it won't. So you're on the right track in terms of what we're doing right there. And the other couple that we go through, the Lewis Avenue Maintenance Building, we're not real sure what we're going to do with that building, because at this point in time we really don't own it. We actually lease it, and it was kind of a complicated deal back in the day. We did own it, and then the Drain Commission took it over. We lease it from them for $1 a year. So we need to do an environmental study on it. We'll probably do a phase 1. It'll probably go into phase 2. And then we'll decide what we need to do, whether it's going to be sold, whether it can be repurposed to do something else. Some people have given us some different ideas. It used to be an old Ford dealership. Whitman Ford used to be there. I think it was like in 1955 that building was constructed. So there's definitely purposes for that building. And I can tell you this, I've already had some phone calls from a few companies that are in the automotive industry that are like, hey, are you guys going to sell that? Because it's a great spot to fix cars, tow trucks, all that good stuff. So that'll be a question mark. The other one is Banner Oak School, which we did start to do some improvements on that with the metal roof. That is a living museum. I don't know if you've ever been in it. It does have, the desks are in there and everything. Kids go in there. We're looking to revive that. The Bedford Historical Society, the ladies have retired. So we're trying to put it underneath the park board and try and get that thing rejuvenated, do more events out there and so on. But it's going to need work. Chase and I, we worked on a grant where we've applied for a $26,000 grant for the doors and ramps, and we're going to be applying for some more. But that is our building. We own it, and it was built after the Civil War. So we should never neglect that building again. We need to continue to put money into it. It's something for future generations to take a look at it. And in terms of, we take a little piece of history, the guy, Ludwig, who designed it, was the architect and builder. He was in the Civil War, and he was also captured by the Confederates. So there's some real history in that building. So that's something that we need to take a look at. And I've had some people approach me already about wanting to volunteer, do some things for it and so on. So I think we can get that thing really going. Any questions or?
Any questions off the cuff? I got a few. Jake, we want to start?
Yeah, just a couple questions. The first one on the Lewis Avenue Maintenance Building. So we're leasing it from Rural County Drainage Commission. So I'm curious why we are recommending to allocate some funds for that. And I see it's relatively high. It's in the desirable and ranked number 1. If we don't own it, is there something on the lease where we're responsible for?
Yeah, we've been responsible for the repairs and everything.
And that's in the lease with the.
Right. So right now it's in our possession. So if something goes wrong, we're stuck with it. Now we're going to kind of mothball it once we get everything out of there. So right now it's just up in the air to what we want to do with it.
And when is the lease up?
Those have usually gone year to year that we've done. It's more of a handshake that we've done with the Drain Commission. It was something they did, God, I don't know how many years back that's been going on.
Okay. If I can just make a recommendation, it might be worthwhile to speak with them if it's just a year-to-year agreement, just to say, what do we need to do to turn it back over to you? And that would be the amount. I'm assuming 10,000 is what we're estimating to put it back into condition that allows them to take possession back of it.
Well, it's kind of complicated because
Those conversations
be real honest with
happening,
you, I'm just not going to give it back to them. In terms for, we put money in that building originally, and in terms of money from Bedford Township, so that's where the complication comes in. So I'm just not going to turn it over. I mean, we're going to have some negotiations because if it's sold or whatever, I believe we're entitled to some compensation for it.
I don't know the details, but those conversations have been happening
Right.
for a while, trying to find a mutually beneficial.
Right.
How do we want to do this?
Exactly.
I think legal is even in those
Yeah,
kind of
see-
conversations. Like,
Oh, yeah,
because it's one of those it's just like it's like Indian Creek. Indian Creek was the situation is in for forever because multiple people owned it, and so nobody owned it. So that's how that building was. It's just they own it, so we're not putting anything into it. We don't own it, and they have no use for it, so they're not doing anything with it. So that's been happening for a while, trying to figure out, and I don't know where that's at. I think like some feet to the flame to figure that out before we're saying we're allocating money toward it.
The key will be spending to get an environmental study. I mean, that's going to be a real key. Because if there's something under there or around there, and then that could be a case where, yeah, it is your building. And then we wouldn't necessarily want it. It just depends.
I guess just my recommendation, right, as somebody who's leased facilities all over the United States and Canada, in my experience here, without an agreement, it's really tough to say who does what to whom. We don't own the building. That's clear, right? Monroe County Road Commission, Drain Commission owns the building, right? So at some point they exchange money to Bedford Township for ownership of that property. And
We gave them money.
we gave them money.
It's a very complicated
It is very
situation.
complicated, but there's no written agreement. as
Right,
to
and then
who does
things
what.
that were done back 20, 30, 35 years ago, a lot of us weren't here, okay? So that's when we get into, we have Trudy, who's a very good researcher, who's looking and say, well, geez, they had issued some bonds at the time, and then went ahead and they didn't use all the bond money, and then the Drain Commission was originally supposed to house their trucks there and so on. Well, then they decided they weren't going to do that. Well, then Bedford come along and said, well, okay, then we'll use it, because they had the old building up here. You know what I mean? It's not like today. I agree with you. Today, if we do any kind of transaction, we would definitely have a lease, purchase agreement, or whatever, and then you start to find all this stuff out later on, and then you're like, whoa. So as I said, right now, I'm glad we don't have a lease in a sense, or a purchase agreement with them or whatever, only because once we do the environmentals, I might say, no, this you guys own it and you can take care of it.
Yeah.
It's not deeded in our name, so.
So my only hang up is allocating funds to something we're not sure what exactly. I mean, environmental testing, I don't know if we're on the hook for that or not. But yeah, it sounds like it's something that the legal department.
Yeah, Phil Goldsmith, he's working on this.
Find how we end that.
And I
Exactly.
think, from talking to Bob, I think the $10,000 figure we have in there is just bare bones. We're going to mothball, we're going to board it up.
Exactly.
Whatever we need to do, but I guess for fiscal year 2027, it sounds like the plan is we're trying to figure it out.
Exactly. Yeah, I don't want to put any repairs into it, unless plumbing or something.
And I know there's
Right.
that has to be put into closing something down. So
Exactly.
where it's at. So.
But we don't want to make any major investment in it.
So for the sake, because we'll have to do this to some degree for every item on this list. So for the sake of 2027 planning, I think maybe keep a little bit of money in that bucket just to abandon
I would
as we move
definitely.
over. And I guess maybe you could say, or is 10,000 the right figure? I'm not quite sure. It seems like it would cover.
It's not a huge amount. You'll be surprised how quickly it can go when you're trying to put a facility into a position where there's no more damage can be done and kind of close it up, right? Okay. The other question I have, and maybe I'm not feeling the same about the history with Banner Oak School. We have several old school buildings in the Monroe County area. Another one, Liberty Corner used to be a school. I personally don't understand why we would want to put money into it. My preference would be we sell it as a township. So I wouldn't be in favor of putting any money towards it. Now, I get it. Some people feel differently, but that would be my point of view, knowing that we've got other things that are more pressing, especially with all of the parks that are more advantageous for families to utilize. That's my personal preference, but I'll just make it be stated, and I'll let the group decide.
I mean, I disagree with the idea of selling it. I think in both cases, Banner Oak and the parks, we need to get some grants to try and fix and replace some of this equipment. So I guess you mentioned a $26,000 grant was applied for. We've got $125,000 in current expected replacement value for the rehab. Is that number, has that been quoted by any contractors, or is that a ballpark? Or
It's just kind of a ballpark, because we did the roof, and then things that we know that we need to do eventually. We got to do something with the bathroom, because the bathroom is separate from the actual building in the back.
Good old days.
Yeah, it definitely. We have to look at restoring the windows, because if you're going to have a historic building, you want to, do certain things. So that was a number that we kind of ballparked, but the roof was one of the biggest things that we had to deal with. And then when we applied for the grant for the ramp and the front door, that was to go based on historical pictures that we did take a look at and that kind of thing, and try and match it. Because now they just put some flat front steel doors on it. It's like, oh my gosh, it looks terrible, But
My last comment, everything with the township hall, I think that makes good sense, right? it's good sound planning. Let's put some aside for the future because it's inevitable.
Yeah, it's coming. Right. We see stuff every day that sometimes pops up, that you're like, wow, where did this come from? But anyways.
So part of what we want to do here is refine what we've defined as column H, which, it's up on the screen. Our current expected replacement values. So you had mentioned for the HVAC in the Township Hall, $150,000 is what we have currently stated as the replacement value. But you said potentially more based on the units we have.
Could be.
You said up to 170,000. Do we have any?
I would, to be on the safe side. And
Okay.
that's looking at today's costs. And hopefully if we can get a little bit more life out of them, but just after COVID, everything in terms of HVAC, electrical, anything, it's unbelievable what it costs. I mean, you look at what a chiller costs now and so on. And the problem that we're facing, because I don't know if any of you are in construction, I know Dan is and Barry's engineer, nothing has really come down in price. We have not seen any drastic price decreases in things. I mean, we have electricians coming out. They're probably making more than attorneys right now. We get contractors who come out who won't even get in their truck unless you pay them just to come out and talk to you. And I get it. So I anticipate the costs may slow up, but that embedded inflation, it's in there, and they're not dropping. I mean, we just haven't seen it.
So
I had a motor get replaced today in one of the air handlers. It's probably $2,000. Yeah, so.
Al, have you talked with like a company like GEM to come out and evaluate these? Because I know that's one of their specialties is to come out and put some hard numbers to things.
We did that, Barry, just recently, and I'm glad you brought this up, because what we're going to do is we're going to put a bid out for the contract in terms for like our HVAC, our plumbing, and so on, because, for example, you mentioned GEM and a few others we talked to. They're very high tech, so when they go work on something, everything is documented, pictures are taken, it's all stored so that we can keep a better handle on what we need to do maintenance-wise, or, hey, what was that last repair, so that we don't have a tech up on a roof saying, oh, geez, going through a bunch of paper. No, they can go to that and say, oh, yeah, we replaced this, this, and this.
Every unit would be
Right.
RFID tagged, full tracking software that both.
Oh, you may believe.
Every unit would be RFID tagged. You'd have tracking software for both the company to know and the consumer to know at the same time. And this is becoming an industry standard with commercial accounts, which is basically what we would be here, where they can monitor routine maintenance, repairs, and life cycle of every piece of equipment. And then you'd have a set rate for, any work that they're doing. You kind of know where they're going to be coming in, and you'd have evaluations of all your equipment.
And that's just not here. We've got 2 park buildings, and we also have 3 fire stations.
Library.
So we've got enough buildings to justify a program like that.
In the library.
And the library. Yep.
So as part of that process, you said you've contacted some contractors.
Yeah, GEM's already been out.
GEM's been out. Have they given you any harder numbers on, okay, we need to probably replace this unit in a few years, but from then on we'll...
Yeah, they have given us numbers, but I'd rather not disclose them because this is going to go back out for bid.
Okay, fair enough.
I don't want to.
From a perspective of sheer magnitude,
Right.
are they in line with what we have allocated in this line item? Just want to make sure we have enough dollars put away for...
I would say we're
HVAC.
probably pretty good.
Okay, fair enough.
Just a question out of curiosity, when we're going out for bids, how many bids do we typically seek?
On this, we might see 3 to 4 sometimes.
Okay.
Because not all HVAC guys or plumbers or whatever get into that kind of work, right? Some of them just like, now we just go and fix or whatever, but like you have GEM, in terms you have
Coleman Systems.
There's the other one too. She's with.
Core Mechanical.
Yeah,
might
Core
be
Mechanical.
interested.
There's another one out there too. There's like 4 real good players out there that seem to do
I
quite a
think
bit.
that's good. Yeah, at least 3. I think you got to have at least 3 to
Exactly.
triangulate the right price. So
Yep.
it's good.
Well, I assume you're publicly advertising, not selecting who you're sending the bids out to.
No.
So other companies could come in.
Oh, yeah, they could.
From wherever and decide to bid on the work.
This would go out as an RFP, so publicly advertised, out for a set amount of time. You know, all our numbers out there for everybody to call, come and take a look at everything. This is not some sort of just cherry pick a single company or two. This is any company, once this goes out to bid, that wants to bid on it.
Right. And sometimes like this too, we may get some of those firms like out of Detroit and so on that might feel that, yeah, a drive's not too far. We'll go ahead and take a look at it.
Okay. I guess, and I'm not trying to steamroll or talk too much here, but as it relates to the two items specifically stated to be replaced this year, which is the Township Hall floor and then the $10,000 for the Lewis Avenue maintenance building, we've got that allocated as of today.
Question on that. Should we move those, I mean, seeing that they need to be this year, should those be moved to essential? 'Cause I don't know if those are in the essential either. I see the ranking, but I don't see, because I think when we filtered, we removed that.
Yeah. Okay, so we have that rated as acceptable.
Right. You know, some things are completed in the, because I was going to ask that question. We've some things that are completed in essential. Some of the park items are fully funded. So maybe we downgrade those to acceptable for now with a new fund on it, and then move some of these other ones up to essential.
There is a plan in place to replace the floor this year.
Right.
And that 60,000, I'm assuming by now you probably have
Oh, yeah.
started bids or have
Yeah,
bids in
for
place.
the lower level, we've started the bids.
The 60,000 is in line, or you?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I think if we're so items that are being replaced this year, is your case you're
Yeah.
making, we should move them
Otherwise,
all
they
up
won't
to
get
essential.
funding, right? So we want to make sure that they're put up at the appropriate importance.
I think generally speaking, this year's
Not to
items
mess up
are
that
funded.
spreadsheet, but
That's fine. In column, I got to slide over a little bit more.
Although,
Column O is the money that's already been allocated. So it really doesn't matter what grouping it's in right now. But yes, if it's going to be placed right away, we can move it to the top. But
Yeah.
the most important column is column O.
the way all your columns sum, or rows sum, Bob, if you don't need to start cutting stuff and messing up all your, I think in general, we can just plan on assets to be replaced this year. Let's just move them into the essential category so that they get funded and get done. I think that's fair. Okay, so that's good. Those both are funded currently, so that's important. You mentioned the day a building goes into the ground, we should add it to the CIP. So I want to add an item for the new maintenance building back there. Is that okay?
Do it.
And I don't know how much we paid to build that thing, but I'm assuming.
We were, oh no, Bob, what was our contractor? Was
Yep,
it-
we spent about $3 million, but that included all the prep work. But if we had to replace it, we'd still have the same tear down. And
Right.
so I have it in today's dollars at $3 million. I have it being replaced in 74 years. That's one thing I did forget to mention early on. I have a 2.5% inflation rate. So the future value of $3 million in 74 years is $6,265,000.
That's on here, Grant.
Yeah, for some reason I missed it when it was filtered, but yeah, you do have a row for that. That's my bad.
I did have supervisor in that department column, so I just added it just now.
Oh, you just added it?
Didn't show it because it did have supervisor.
I got you.
tricky.
I got you. I was half right. Okay. Okay, any specific questions for the supervisor while he's present? Are we good with, we're good with the amounts that are listed for those assets that are, okay. We've got the thumbs up there. I mean, I'm content.
No, I think it's good. Yep.
I think generally speaking, where we can try to supplement funds from grants, so like, it seems like Banner Oak, there's gotta be so much.
Yeah, that's what I said. There's stuff. I got a grant for that place to help with the roof before.
Yeah.
And there's a couple other ones that we're gonna do, see what we can, like, if I can get the door and the ramp, then I'm gonna start on the windows next. That's gonna be big. And then just kind of go from there.
Sorry, I just have one last question. The rehab for the township hall, does that include like parking lot
No, parking lot's totally separate. We've already got money set aside that we're going to be doing this year. That was set aside, I don't know, like 2 years ago, I think it was.
Several years ago.
Several years ago, we were planning
Waiting
for
for the
that before you guys had all this.
Waiting for maintenance, the maintenance building to be done, correct?
Right, we didn't want to be tearing stuff up till we
makes
got
sense.
Redo it all, and then have a bunch of equipment driving back here and over I believe that's what we were waiting for.
Manhole covers and all that stuff. We've got several of those that have to be repaired. We did a couple of them.
So I guess I'll pull a grant on this one. Is it in, then it's not in the plan then, the CIP? Maybe we should.
Yeah, so I had a general question on this topic. Sidewalks are captured under Fund 447, right? Like sidewalks and structural assets.
Sidewalks are in Fund 245 under the Metro Act because we get some money specifically for that.
How about like paved surfaces?
Yep, that'd be in Fund 447.
So we have a number of park commission items that are for repair and replace parking lots that are in this Fund 446. So when we get to parks, put a pin in that.
It's all for discussion, yes.
Put a pin in that one. But we're covered on Township Hall Park.
Good.
Yeah.
Glad to hear that.
In the parking lot too, it's like, we had it inspected a couple of years ago. They kind of gave us a plan, here's what we need to do. And we waited, then we were doing the maintenance building. We were going to do it sooner, but then we were like, no, let's wait till the building's done. And we'll do it.
Fair enough. Well, thanks for coming out. You got something, Craig?
Maybe a dumb question. So is Planning Commission does not oversee 447?
That's correct.
That's correct? Okay, so so it's not the responsibility of this commission. Okay.
Just the turf.
Okay.
Which is public structures,
Okay.
And improvements.
to those public structures.
Bob,
I just have a quick,
things that are attached to the ground, basically, building.
Whatever you consider a public structure to be.
Loosely defined. Barry, you had one more thing?
no, I was good. I was just wanted a clarification on that, so how we're handling that. There is, I guess, one other question, too, is that column B, under your comments, you have replaced in 6 years under 3 of those. Is that relevant? Or
Which,
No, that would not be relevant.
I think those should probably be just.
Those are just,
Delete.
To give clarification.
Right.
Here's what's wrong, why we might, like if you look down on
Might have been
item 19, the cord is cracked and it's dangerous. It was just a discussion of why we should look at repairing the parks in 2027.
That might have been original notes, Barry.
Yeah.
That might have been when we were
Yeah,
first
that's
putting
what I'm thinking.
First putting it together.
Original note that got carried over.
This was brought to us originally. We
gentlemen.
didn't really understand why it was being brought in front of us, so we're like, okay, it just says,
Some description on there.
exactly. It's helpful for us to understand.
That's good. Thanks for all the discussion and thanks for the representation from the supervisor. All right, so we have like one item for the clerk's department. Maybe we touch on that very briefly and then we'll talk parks because we have a lot of items to cover for parks. Clerk's department, so under the desirable category, we have a new maintenance storage building at Bedford Memorial Garden Cemetery, 24 by 24 building for storage of equipment and small vehicles used in the cemetery. I didn't get the chance to poll the maintenance department. I know they currently store all their, most of their equipment at the maintenance building, which will obviously now be a lot further. So they probably have some equipment related to digging graves that they want to store over there.
I think that's the only thing, and they're just looking to make it more product.
Instead of transporting
going
the
forward, instead of
the stuff that's
transporting it.
just there, instead of
Yes.
transporting it back and forth, especially with the longer distance, can you just leave it there where you're going to use it? And they can just take whatever vehicle over there and do. That was my understanding. Is correct?
But I believe it's like desirable. It's on the wish list. It's estimated to be able to be constructed in 2030. So we have that time frame out, and this is really where the CIP shows what it's supposed to do moving forward. This is what I want to put at the park in 2030 by then, in the estimated 4 years. Current expected value is $45,000. We know that's going to be probably increased by time, but I think with Bob's 2.5 inflation rate, I think by the time in 2030 should be able to put. I'm not going to quote me on that, but the intent is to make it more efficient for the maintenance department doing the cemeteries.
Yeah, and having been out there with those guys digging graves over summers, there is some equipment. I mean, I think this building is worth having. I don't think we should pull it off this, especially this time of year. They've got equipment to heat the ground. It's a pain to lug it all the way from Township Hall. So I don't have anything to pull from or take, whatever to get rid of that item, other than to say, I guess. Does anyone have any feel on the price that we have in there for expected replacement value? Is $45,000?
I think she did some sort of I'm sure she didn't pull that number out of nowhere.
Sure.
But she has an idea of what the type of building that she was thinking that she would want out there, and got some sort of numbers, I would assume.
Okay.
My axe to grind moment. But yeah, I've always questioned why we're in the cemetery business in the first place. Why do we own this? Why do we maintain it? Why do we need a building for it? We're a township government. I don't know that the township really needs a cemetery, but that's kind of my axe to grind. I'm just saying, future reference, let's make smart decisions around what we're using our money for here.
Okay. Anyone have any other comments on this specific item? If not, I think we can keep it there and move to parks. Does that work?
I have my own opinions, but yeah.
Would you like to share them?
No, just my purpose of the CIP is not think of things that you would like. It's more let's take care of the things that we have. So I don't know if a new building lands in the CIP. I think of government finances like I think about my own finances, and that's how I try to think about all of this kind of stuff. And the CIP is we got to get our finances in order. We got to get our money's a mess. We got to figure it out. And right when you start saving, and your wife says, "I'd always wanted a new hot tub." Well, that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about having money set aside when we need a new car, not a new hot tub. So that's my view on. I don't know if it's appropriate. I assume it falls legally. I would assume it can fall under this usage, but I don't know. Would you agree with that? This type of thing would fall to be used in this fund?
Well, it's a plan.
Okay.
So if you're planning that you want something 5, 6, 10, 20, 50 years down the road,
Then
put it in
is
writing.
appropriate. Okay. I agree with that.
I think where you're probably right, because you're probably financially savvy, is when you do have so many assets that are needing replacement that you haven't put money in the piggy bank for, it is hard to plan for more.
I'm the opposite. I'm simple. I'm not financially savvy. I'm very, very simplistic, and so I try. Don't spend money that you don't have.
Yeah,
and
that's fair.
Take care of the stuff that you have first before you're spending money. Huh? Yes. But and especially like I said, this next we're going to hit why we should have had this whole thing this should have been around for 50 years, let alone not figuring it out now.
And fuel to the fire that, right? So where I do see an advantage, right? I'm opposed to us having a cemetery as a township, right?
Yeah.
That's my point of view, but we do have it. So the question is, does this building actually make us more efficient? If the answer is yes, we save the money by having to transport stuff, then hey, that makes good sense.
Yes. And I would agree with that. All right.
Let's talk parks.
Yes.
Dawn, how are you?
Good afternoon. I'm doing well. Thank you for asking.
All right, Bob, do you mind filtering for just the parks items?
Do you want to start with parking lots, or do you just want to go down?
Yeah, let's do that before you do filter anything. And maybe we shouldn't filter these because we want to see the categories or the ranking, and that all goes away when we do that filter.
The other option to filter, if you so choose, is by the actual park. Is another option. So you got several different options of ways to sort.
Have that option. Okay.
Project name.
Well, thanks for coming out, Dawn. I know the parks that you represent or parks you represent probably have no assets on this list.
Not really. I just have a small gazebo at Ansted.
Okay. Ansted and Wheeler, right? Are the two?
Wheeler, I never saw a gazebo at Wheeler.
I just meant those are the two that you
Yeah,
oversee.
correct.
Have you
That's
had
correct.
any discussion, or there wasn't a meeting this week? I know I sent an email to the Parks Commission. Has there been any discussion yet this year or at the end of last year regarding, because Pat had put together the spreadsheet, and has there been any discussion as a commission? I guess, can you
Little bit.
speak to that?
Yeah. Like one of the things I noticed right away is that the gazebo at Car Park is going to be replacements. Actually, 85,000. I think they came in, and when you do a replacement at 85,000, they're cutting the concrete and they're doing some things that aren't going to make it. It's just not going to be good. And so they're looking at just redoing the whole gazebo, which is going to be 120,000. So it's much bigger than what that budget is there.
This is the pavilion.
It's been one of the things talked about on the board.
Okay.
What did you say? So I can say it in the microphone. What are you saying? Pavilion.
Pavilion. Did I say gazebo?
Not the yeah.
I apologize.
Okay, so already pavilion. All right, we've got $50,300 currently allocated to replace that pavilion, which is in pretty poor shape.
Bad.
But our quote we've got is $85,000
To rebuild it.
to rebuild it.
120 for a brand new one.
Okay.
So if you're rebuilding it, you're cutting that concrete out. It's going to be slop job back together. That's kind of the issue. And I think Chase knows a little bit more about it. He walked over the estimates with me when I came in the other day.
Let's talk about it.
So we engaged Manick and Smith to come up with an engineered plan to repair the structure. The posts are structurally rotted out where they meet the concrete. So what they came up with was a Part A and Part B, and they put this out to bid. We received multiple bids back. The low bidder was $85,000, and this was a public bid process with an RFP. And the initial part was replace just the posts, cut out the concrete, replace just the posts themselves. You know, this doesn't factor fascia board, this doesn't factor new roof, this doesn't factor anything else that might eventually need to be replaced. And then the second part of that bid was new concrete under the whole thing. So that's what came to $85,000, was fresh concrete removal and fresh concrete, and then new posts themselves, and that was it for $85,000. We talked to State Line Church down at Smith and Lewis, and they put in a new pavilion of similar size for approximately $120,000, and that includes new concrete, proper rat wall installed, all new wood, everything. That was not electric and running some outlets and stuff like we have on the current pavilion. But obviously you can kind of look at this, and this is up for others to decide, but $85,000 to repair, or probably $140,000 with removal, disposal.
And that 85,000 means every year you're going to keep putting probably another 10,000 in to get everything else rebuilt.
Yeah.
Well, that also, because I did take a look at that with Al this summer, and I remember seeing, I think that's the original roof on that, because the shingles are in bad shape, all the fascia boards are rotten, and
Yep.
yeah, you're going to be chasing money on that building for a long time.
Didn't have any TLC last couple years.
There was no CIP plan.
Understood.
Do we have any other pavilions on our docket here that we can take a look at? I'm just curious if we're low on all of them. That's my concern, because we have 60,000 allocated. I think 9,700 has been spent for some of this investigation. But if we need to add another 30,000 or even greater to get to 120,000, we obviously have to dip in somewhere else. So I'm curious if we have more pavilions, are all these numbers low, and when are our replacement years for those? So it looks like we got a little while before we need to probably replace White, Parmalee, Ansted, or Samaria, I guess. We've got
Samaria is in great shape. The Lions actually just put money into Samaria for us, and they replaced wood on it that had been weathered and had some woodpecker holes in it, and they paid to have it power washed and repainted. Lido Power Washing took care of that for them. The Lions paid for that themselves. So Samaria is in great shape there.
Is that white or?
That was Samaria Park.
Okay.
Yep. White Park has 2 pavilions at it. Also another Lion's Den structure, and then the existing 1960s looking one right by the parking lot.
So while we're on Samaria, we have replacement year 2026. And we have $0 currently allocated, but
Yeah.
for future purposes, what should we throw in there? Is it 2040? Is it
It's got to have at least
2035?
another 15 years. I mean, they're,
So maybe we should update that.
you know,
You might want to go even further than that and move it down to acceptable. So, we don't
Yeah.
allocate more funds to it. If that's been recently repaired, that's great news, right?
yeah, we definitely thank the Lions Club for that.
Well, all the pavilions are originally from the Lions Club, correct? I think
That would not surprise me. I believe
pretty
they're-
sure, I'm almost positive Cars is.
I know Carr is because they're going to put a donation towards it when we start to work on that project. They've already
great.
made a commitment to the township.
What
that.
would that be?
$5,000 to $10,000 roughly,
Okay.
depending on, what they have in their budget at that time, and, but they want to help out with that. So,
So we have currently for Car Park Pavilion, $50,000 funded with another commitment of
call it
$5,000.
They're good for 15.
Yeah. If we could talk, no, I'm just kidding. We won't
They're
try
right
and
down the
haggle them.
hall.
We appreciate the donation.
So that talks about CAR that handles Samaria, right? So CAR is going to be kind of the primary. I know it's not even usable at this point. I think.
No, it's currently shut down.
Yeah. Can we talk about the others pavilions real quick since we had those up? So there's 2 in White Park. Okay. You're going to see a relative theme here, but from Jake. So I apologize, but we have 2, right? Do we need 2?
Yes, absolutely. They're constantly rented out.
That's what I wanted to find out. So we're constantly okay. So that answers the question. So we do need to address it then.
This is like an operational question. Where does the money go for the rentals? I know they're not high cost, but where does that money go?
That money goes right into the general fund.
Okay. Could we dump
And then
it
you
into
get
the
that,
CIP
you
fund?
do. You get that money back. Like this year, we're estimating that there'd be about 400,000. We'll move from the general fund to here.
Not 400,000 from rentals.
That's
No,
pretty solid.
from the general fund.
I want to make that very clear.
Wow.
Yeah.
In the wrong business.
Yeah, we need more pavilions.
So it's all the rentals are lumped into the general fund, and then when it's budget time,
General fund.
we
funds.
determine how much money we can sort of guess to go here, 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 and here. It all gets divided out.
I don't know, like what I've rented the Parmalee Park shelter for this was a while ago, but I can't remember it being very expensive. Are the rates based on something? And if they are not, can we base them on future projected replacement values so we can just pay for these replacements as we go?
The park board, I believe, sets the rates for that.
Okay, something I'm learning right now.
Good.
If they do. They handle that, and we have a booking software for them, and they book the parks. Unfortunately, as a township, you're not allowed to charge something to make money. We have to set our fee schedule so that it's not, call it punitive or to make a revenue. So they have to look at that when they set fee schedules for stuff like that.
I just want to make whatever. I don't want to charge that much for them, but if the basis is to just keep this thing maintained and rebuild it in the future, I don't know if that's necessarily driving profits. It's more just.
I think the halls are like $350 a day, and then I'm not exactly sure what the pavilions are. 25.
Thank you.
25 a
Christine.
day.
Do we know on average,
$250 for the
how
falls.
much, how many times a year, cost-wise that is brought in by those?
That I don't have yet.
So maybe this is I guess we don't need to dive into those details, but maybe Dawn, just to take back to the park commission, if you guys could just take a look at the revenue you're seeing from those and just project like what we're ultimately going to be able to allocate in future CIPs for replacement of these? Because like the way I see it, if the quote you got to replace, which that's what we've defined column F as, replacement year and replacement value in column H, that's $120,000 if we ask State Line Christian. So to me, Carr, White, Parmalee, Anstead, Samaria, they're all of roughly the same size. I guess maybe the Anstead Park is smaller.
Carr's pretty big. Carr's the largest.
Okay. But it scales a little bit, right? So like if Anstead is a quarter of the size, it's probably not the quarter of the cost. I don't know. But we need to like refine all of these values. If we were off by, $30,000 to $50,000 on our guess here, actually more than that, we just need to make sure all these values are updated or quoted, or because I think where we're at right now is we have the funds to replace Cars Grove Pavilion, get a $50,000 pavilion. We don't have the funds to get a $120,000 pavilion.
Or 140.
140.
Sorry, I was playing with my phone, but I was using the calculator. Just trying to do some math here, right? So if we're charging $25 a day, say 90 days out of the year, which might be a bit high for what we're getting these rented, that's just a little over $13,000 a year. Now I know we're not trying to generate revenue, but we also need to maintain these things. So maybe we think about a fee structure that's escalating. We've got inflation in here. That's one point. We could use weighted average cost of capital, something to come up with a methodology, not to gouge the citizenry, but just to make sure that we're recouping something to make sure that we have funds set aside to keep these things maintained in the future.
And I'd request, across the board, but it seems like the pavilions are a big item. The other big item being the physical playground structures, like hard quotes, if we can get them. And maybe you can speak to hard quotes on
I think we have some hard quotes.
Great.
Go ahead.
Sorry, we don't have exact numbers, but like Dawn was saying, me and some of the other park board members have.
Josh was meeting with some reps, and I think he came in and talked to you about it, and I think I was hearing from him like, God, 150?
Well, with overall, depending on what type of ground support structure, whether you stay with mulch or go with rubber, you're about 400,000. So, now if you stick with mulch.
Is that for, so a lot of our parks have two separate playgrounds, one for small children, one for large.
So these, until you get a layout and get a design and you get everything put together, they can't give you any hard numbers.
Okay.
And so we are currently working on that. Like she said, Josh has been in talks with a couple. I was supposed to have a Zoom call with another gentleman Monday, to talk about inclusivity and some of the other features, because you don't just plan these parks for today, you plan them for the future and for all people.
Sure.
So.
Absolutely.
So if we're saying 400,000, then we have another problem right here, and that's a big problem.
Well, that's the type of thing that has to be decided. What do you want to do with the park? And that's where park board has to come in and decide what they want to do.
I want to engage Pat. Pat, you've been so patient, and you've put a lot of effort into this as well. Could you maybe speak to your efforts, and we can pop open in a minute this spreadsheet and step through. We could go line by line if we need to, but had you gone and got quote information on playscapes specifically? I don't know if you had for pavilions, but
yeah, I use my best judgment on pavilions. I spent 20 years working with deck builders and outdoor projects and stuff like that, and I thought I had a better grip. And so I was like, $85,000 to build a pavilion? Not surprised. And I appreciate your optimism about 2.5% inflation rate. You're like Jerome Powell. 2%, that's your goal. So yeah, I talked to Raleigh, who works for a rep agency who reps the playground equipment that we bought the equipment from before. He said he's noticed like 3 to 4% inflation, and that's why he was like, you might want to bank on that. So we don't know, but as they keep increasing the money supply, inflation's going to keep going up. But one thing I would do, and I know I suggested it to Bob, we can quote one play set by itself, but really you should look at it as a project. There's a big play set and a little play set at every park. There's the ground You know, if we go with the, you know, an inclusive type flooring system, you know, that's going to be part of the project. There's a border, that's all part of a project. It isn't like you buy this stuff individually and piece it together. So realistically, you're looking at that larger number of around 400,000. And I don't know if that's in that final,
This is White Park we're looking at.
yeah, so what's the tab that shows what we would send to you, Bob, or that you would look at? There's the instructions. Keep going.
Keep going.
Just as you filter for
VIP
that,
summary.
as you filter for that, I guess
So,
for Barry
I
and
don't know if
Dan.
it's still like this, but if you scroll down.
Pat, if I could just cut you
Oh, I'm
off
sorry.
quick. No, you're good. I just, for Barry and Dan's reference, because they weren't on the board last year, or the commission, we do this every year.
Okay.
And it's equally as riveting every year, I'm sure. But Pat did a lot of work. Pat was our previous chair and did a lot of work with the Parks Board, but also took a lot upon himself to actually come up with hard numbers for a lot of our park assets. We had not been given hard quotes on a number of our park assets before. And Don, I obviously appreciate you coming out. Josh Niederkor is another representative that came out last year and provided good insight. But Pat took it upon himself to help populate and fill in some of the gaps. And so the spreadsheet that we are looking at now was part of Pat's efforts last year to try to establish some replacement values for park assets, just to get harder numbers than what was previously in our turf fund spreadsheet that we were looking at a minute ago. So sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. I just wanted to give a little background.
So Raleigh, the agent rep, you know, gave me some good insight. I met with Pat Thatcher, had a great meeting with him, spent most of a morning talking to him. He was giving me some insight about the life of some of these pieces of equipment. And I think there's two parks where maybe we're going to get 2 years out of the play set. But scroll down. I don't know if you'd pulled it out. All the way, keep going down. All right, there you go, right at the bottom there. So you notice how I put down here project value of 450,000 a park. That probably should go up and replace big play set, little play set at each park. Because when you buy it, you're going to buy them both, and you're going to buy the ground for it. I was kind of shocked at the number Pat told me that is being spent on mulch, because apparently all those play sets have a mark at the bottom of the play set, and you have to keep the mulch up to that level, or you relinquish your liability, or they do, and it's all in the township. So it gets to be really expensive to keep mulching these, and it makes more sense to invest in like that all-inclusive type.
So on that point, I didn't know if we'd get into mulch, but Bob, is mulch covered under Fund 446?
No, mulch is a maintenance item, so that comes out of Department 265 annual maintenance.
So it's budgeted for.
Annually, yes.
We have money set aside for the mulch piece. Now, if we do get into more intricate playscape surfaces, you get into, you know, if you do the hard surfaces or rubber mulch.
If you're spending $100,000 per park on mulch, I don't care what fund it's going in, you're going to save the township.
I want to make
That's
sure.
what I was going to say, is it might be something you want to look at, because if we are spending that kind of money yearly on mulch for the parks,
I don't want to look at it, but that would be a great park.
it would be something to look
I
at.
think it's 10,000 a year.
I was going to say.
10,000.
It's premium.
I don't know where that.
It's premium mulch.
So again, something to look at.
100,000 on
Look
rentals.
at the project cost of replacing, not the individual place set.
Sure.
That's my advice. That's the way I would do it. In hindsight, I wouldn't have presented like I did up above to bottom.
So
I would have done what I put down lower.
The $450,000 per set that you have here,
Yeah.
that's all inclusive. That's a large play set, a toddler play set. Do you have
Click on
that?
the new equipment tab, and there are some projects that Raleigh had been working on in the area. If you scroll up or down, I think you're going to see more of what he was getting involved in. All right, so you can see like typical play sets he had bids out or recently sold. So the numbers he was giving me was fairly accurate. There may be some things that, you know, like swing sets. I mean, the structure seems to be pretty good. You could probably keep those and spare your cost of replacing that. But anyways, this comes down to these reps getting with the Parks Board, and they determine what kind of setup that they want within the budget that we have in mind.
The one, sorry. See, one of the major the CIP is a great avenue for the parks. This has been fantastic because it's always, they get to a point we have to pass a levy, do something drastic. So planning ahead is great. The concern I have is our board kind of cycles through every so often and we start from scratch. The concern I have is how can we continue this momentum we've got? You know, the CIP is a part of it, but then we got to refresh people every so often about here's what we've got going with the parks. I just don't know, and this is just maybe, you know, something from a township perspective, not necessarily it's the park board, that we can make sure that each park board is always educated on here's the projects and some type of handoff to make sure we're keeping this work going.
That's the point of doing this in a Google
Yeah.
sheet, and anybody who should have access will have access to it. You know, you may even want to consider putting up a view-only version online so people can actually see what, you know, the parks has to deal with. That's up to you guys, the board. But this is like perfectly designed so it can be handled from one generation to the next.
Yeah.
And Jody and I have talked a little bit about it from a continuity perspective, trying to set up a annual or more frequent touch point that is consistent each year with the Planning Commission, the Parks Commission, the Supervisor's Office. And that might be a meeting or multiple meetings in the year where we have these discussions so that we don't have to do them tonight, send it to the board to have them approve it. It'll just be a little more streamlined. So we'll work through that for future years and hopefully for continuity with the Park Commission and the Planning Commission.
Just for clarification, this does not have to go to the board for approval. What you'll do is once you complete it, you'll send it to me, and then I'll update the budget, and it goes with the budget packet. So when we start having our budget meetings,
Yeah,
that's when the board will review it and make changes, updates, and then the final approval.
I'll try to shed my procrastinating cap and just what's our hard drop, like our drop dead date that you need all this refined by?
I've already started the budget,
Yeah.
so you're working on next year's.
Yeah, this is right. This is for 2020.
My thought was, you know, Parks Board doesn't have to look at this at every meeting, but every couple months they should review it and, you know, maybe they learn maybe we can get another year out of a particular asset, or a particular asset went up 20% in price or went down. They review it and use it as kind of like a, you know, a semi-regular thing to look at, so it's always up to date. And then Bob's not like going crazy. He needs numbers to plug into his budget. He has access to this, you know, and the chair can contact Bob, send him an email. Hey, we reviewed it. It's good. Use the numbers we put in there. And it's set up just so he can copy and paste it from their file to his. It's simple.
I definitely think having some guardrails in place across the board to help us all process this as we go, not just like once a year at the end of the year.
I agree.
Cramming.
That's a very good suggestion.
So Dawn, you mentioned like $400,000 quote that had been received on playground equipment. Pat, you had $450. You also have some comparable
These were,
bids.
like you said, rough numbers.
Yeah, but I guess what I'm getting at is current expected replacement values. The greatest one that we have is $244,000, which that we lost our screen here. I don't know if something came unplugged. And we're talking about.
I'm live here. Oh, there it is.
That one's good. All right, everybody, turn your attention to
George needs to.
stage left. We're talking about potentially doubling. There we go. We got it.
I'm good here.
Yeah, we're 200,000 low.
On our most generous
spent, yeah.
estimate. We have much lower than that as well.
I didn't eat dinner.
So we, I guess, as a commission, have to decide now, you know, do we want to allocate more money, or I'm sorry, not allocate, but to boost all those current expected values based on these larger quotes?
I would.
I
Definitely would.
would agree. I mean, honestly, these are the things that are, I
You're
think,
going to be honest with yourself.
Yeah.
very important.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we've been given some reality with regards to what these projects would cost. So I think it makes very good sense to up the expected replacement.
The other thing, I thought White Park was a priority over Carr. Am I wrong on that, Chase?
In review with Raleigh, with Josh Niederkor, they had prioritized White Park over Carr Park. And said Carr Park wasn't in as bad of shape, and Samaria Park was a very distant third, being in pretty good shape still, very good shape. It's been White Park where we've been doing a lot of repairs. We had a hole rusted through one of the floor decks in one of them. So, that was $4,000 for a floor deck to have the company come in and, tear it apart in one day and fix it. So that was the toddler playscape.
So are you in agreement changing the ranking to Carr Grove's playscape to a 3 and White playscape to a 2? They'll just swap positions.
I mean, they're all an essential, right? So
They're all an essential.
yeah, I mean, I think, yeah, if you just swap it by one,
Yeah.
we're going to allocate any money that we have to essential first and foremost before anything else.
From your coordination with the playground equipment supplier, are these replacement dates realistic? I mean, they've come out and they've said that White should be a priority or Carr should be a priority. Have they been able to say, like, off the record, you got another 5 years out of this, or another, like, you need to replace this now?
I mean, they're still currently producing parts for these, but, like some of the other stuff, you get to a point where you've replaced so much of it, but, right now we're updating all the swings across the whole township. That order just came in, that was $12,000 for swings, every swing seat and stuff. So we're continuously putting money into it, and they did not give even, anything like what I could hopefully have given you as a great answer there, to a date for that. But, they were all put in at roughly the same time, and, they're, I think average, they said 20 to 25 years, 20 years is the expected life of this play sets.
And we're at 20,
We're at
22?
20, 21, I think.
Yeah.
How did we, yeah, go ahead, Jake. Why don't you go?
Well, just a potential question on funding, right? So on the very bottom of our list, we have future development. So kind of going back to Mr. Montroy's comment around, well, that would be really cool to develop, but should we, is the question. There's 23 acres on West Samaria vacant that's right now under Park Commission. Do we need it? Would we ever want to develop it? Why would we want to develop it when we've got a bunch of parks already that need funding? I don't know what it takes to sell
I believe
a
that's
bunch of property, but
currently being rented though too, right?
All the way in the back, it's not like road frontage property. It's all the way in the back behind the park. Is it?
I think we rent it to a farmer.
oh,
I think we,
Farm. It butts the cemetery.
okay.
it's when we're ready to expand the cemetery.
Yeah. That's a clerk.
So it's not road frontage, as I said. Sorry, I didn't have the mic close enough. It's all the way off the road, and there was a plan just to develop walking trails through it.
Go north.
Samaria.
Keep going north.
Right here, you're good. Samaria and Lewis.
No, you're good. Ansted Park.
I can't see where you're pointing.
I see. It's useful.
This?
Farmer.
Vacant.
This.
Yep.
Okay,
That right there.
That's correct.
I got it. So it's landlocked.
It's landlocked. Its frontage is actually this cemetery.
I gotcha. Okay.
So we're yielding some kind of income from that property it's being rented, you said?
I believe so.
I would say,
Bob,
do you know if we take any?
I believe so.
Yes, I think it's $2,300 a year. Don't quote me the exact amount, but it's in that range.
What are the
Bob
taxes?
said.
The taxes on that?
That seems precise.
Yes.
I don't know what the going rate of renting farmland is, but
I don't know either.
That's probably the best use for it at this point if it's landlocked. I was just trying to make an observation of maybe there's an opportunity here.
no, that's a good point. Do you mind going back to the spreadsheet there, Bob? So I think we're generally in favor. We need to raise our our estimated replacement values for the playscapes by 2x-ish.
I would agree, and I, maybe it's a bit of nomenclature, but maybe change them instead of playscapes, playscape project.
Yeah, this
It's a-
would, this
it's a
would
whole
cover,
system. Yeah.
this would cover new swings, new everything, right? The question I was gonna ask is, because I was young at the time, how did we pay for these back in the early 2000s? Because we had many thousands of dollars. We built a bunch of playscapes at the same time.
If I remember correctly, I think it was a levy.
Millage.
Village. Sorry. Yes.
And I
We're-
guarantee you these weren't that expensive back
Well,
then.
obviously, they weren't, but
Oh, yeah.
that's what, look, do we even have, I'm so with the parks, I've said for, I don't know how many years, all of this is not CIP stuff, in my opinion. This is millage stuff, and then when you do all of those things, then you roll them into your CIP, is my opinion. And that's what should have happened back then. You did a millage, you ran a millage to fund these things, and then should have then started planning instead of 2026, and we're going, well, in 2027, we need $450,000 for a playscape. Are these numbers even
Within the next 4 years, we need that times 4.
times 4? Are those numbers even like
Not even close to
as
being
many as
possible.
much we can plug these numbers in here all day?
I'll tell you,
all day long.
I'll
There's not money for it.
I'll spoil it a little bit because we didn't talk about this yet. We don't even have enough to fund the assets as they are shown now by like half.
Yes.
Right, we're like 50% able to fund all this, so we're like raising costs, and I think we need to because we need to be realistic. But
Yes.
the emphasis here is like, let's boost these numbers to where we think it's realistic, so that Dawn, you can take this back to the Parks Commission and just say, hey, look, we can't do these through the CIP monies, unfortunately.
Not for 50 years, or who knows how long. Like, as you have time to start saving. So eventually,
Yeah,
maybe
right.
you could.
We cannot replace. Right, we
You
can't
either have to
replace
do
Hawaii
a lot
Park.
of
Right.
$4,000 and $12,000 nickel and dime, and which I mean, $450,000. That's a lot of $4,000 repairs you can throw in there before you're getting there. Which I know that was Mr. Tremblay's opinion the last time we had this discussion, that you could replace those swings 50 times and before you're getting to those numbers, or I just don't see how it's not. I feel like those are your two options. You either have to do a millage, and goodness gracious, do I not want to pay another dime in property tax, but I just don't see how else it's
Craig, a
funded.
couple other options
Go ahead.
would be donations or moving these out further, grants. Donations, I mean, we would buy just the structure, and then you could have community members install it. You know, might cut some of that down. The $450,000, that include installation?
No.
That did not.
I'm sorry, yes, it did. But when you looked at the numbers, like 175 and 250 up there, that didn't include installation and the other groundwork.
Unfortunately, I'm guessing all the work probably has to be completed by the manufacturer, or else you're liable to, the insurance and all that.
I think Pat's certified.
Okay,
They went to school.
Pat can go out and
Yes.
go ahead.
Yeah, I talked to the guy who actually works for the company. I forget his name. It might be in that file, but he lives in Adrian. But he mentioned they have a guy on staff who seeks out grants for projects, especially if you make them all inclusive. They might be able to help.
So some parts of this could be completed with some community involvement, depending on the level of skill of the community people and the volunteers. And then they would have more people come in afterwards and certify the work that they've done. But there's some degree of liability there. And the cost of installation itself for the play park assembly is not the greatest cost to all of this. There would be savings, but you wouldn't save $100,000.
So I think as this plan exists and as the state of Michigan's law requires it, we as a commission are expected to and should ask each department head their estimation based on their own work for values of all of this. And so I guess the work in deciding how we're going to finance this or what our options are or even what these values are should fall on the Parks Commission, the Supervisor's Office, and the Clerk's Office. So Dawn, I know you haven't been around that long. Previous input that we've had from the Parks Commission has been lacking. And as we've already identified, like the two biggest types of structures at the parks are like roughly half of what we should have allocated. So we'll boost all that for this plan. But I think the thing to take back, one of the things to take back is just like we need to have a more active role in getting updated quotes, working towards solutions. And those solutions, it sounds like, are not going to probably be fully funded out of the CIP, unfortunately. So just talking with the Parks Commission about what other avenues can we seek so that we can, because what I'm worried about a little bit is, a lot of it, if the Cars Grove playscape needs to be replaced next year, and we have no means of funding that, and it, falls down, someone gets hurt, whatever, right? Township's liable for that, and obviously we don't want to see people get hurt. But we can't fund this out of the CIP, so what are the avenues that the Parks Commission is going to fund these projects, if not through CIP dollars? So I think that's just where we want to have this open dialogue throughout the year. Before we do, finalize the 2027 budget, we'll have to have some of that coordination as we go. So maybe just some food for thought to take back to the commission. But yeah, Bob, I guess I'd be in favor of boosting all these by at least double. Maybe it scales a little bit probably.
Yeah, because I think White Park has a bigger system than
They're going to
all
have the
others.
biggest playscape,
Yeah.
so maybe that one's 450. Maybe.
And you might hit 375 then or something like that.
And also, we don't have to replace like for like either. So let's keep that in mind. We can shrink the footprint. I hate to do that because my kids enjoy the parks, but at some point we can't keep making it bigger and bigger and bigger.
Well, and I think there's another thing, too, to consider. As we look at each of these sites, we need to look at them comprehensively to say what really is it going to take. If we're going to try to make something inclusive, there's some good grants out there. Ralph Wilson, for instance, has multi-million dollars worth of grants. Obviously, you can't guarantee that, and you can't put that in your CIP. But if we're going to try to do an all-inclusive, which I think that's the goal, we need to know if we're going to have to put in sidewalks and, put together a sketch or something. It doesn't have to be fancy. It doesn't have to, something that could be done in-house here. But just to look at and make sure we're all guaranteed that we've got the right amount of money and we've got a good plan rather than be guessing at things. I guess that's the engineer in me going, we need to make sure we get our arms around the proper amounts, but also make sure what we're planning for is what we all want to see. And if it's grant fundable, which a lot of these things could be, not in total, but in partial, we ought to take a comprehensive look and work with the Parks Commission to make sure we understand what we're asking for and what we're putting on paper.
Absolutely.
I threw some numbers in. Does anybody want to throw updates?
I like that. White is the largest playscape. Car and Armley are similar size. As
I just threw numbers in. That's what I'm asking.
I'm bolstering what you put in there. Those numbers seem like they should be the same.
Yeah, and I think
Some areas the smallest, it should be small. Yep.
White.
And we need all of this for future cases to be like given by the Parks Commission, not necessarily by our guesses, but we're going off of information that Pat's provided, you've provided, Dawn. I think this is a better guess. It's still a guess, but it's a better guess that we'll have to refine with future quotes ahead of like finalizing the 2027 budget. Did you have something to say, Jake?
no good.
You want the numbers to stay where they are or adjust them?
I like what you have.
Okay.
Let's keep that.
Agree.
The pavilions, I would like to also raise those. If we could go back to that. And then,
Oh, how about the years, estimated replacement years? Should we address those?
Dawn, I don't know if you have numbers like you could throw out as far as, it sounds like from what's been talked about so far, we don't know.
That's about it, but I think, if Pat is certified, I think you have Pat every year give us a update based on what he's looking at and seeing if he thinks it's doable for another year, 2 years, or 3 years.
How
I
are
think
we-
Pat could do that in the parks this year and let us know.
How are we paying for those, like when we need to replace a panel or something that gets rusted out and costs $4,000? How's that getting paid for?
So that's allocated for through the maintenance parks budget. So we have maintenance parks, grounds, equipment, and buildings for our parks.
Do you know
It's in the buildings and grounds.
you know what the total annual in that bucket
Annually
is?
for everything, I think this year we're about $82,000.
Does that include like gas for the mowers and?
So that is a separate.
Okay.
This
This
is
is just
for
playscapes?
So we just had to replace a furnace in one of the buildings. So that was
$10,500.
$10,500.
Gotcha.
We had to replace the swing set parts. That was $12,000. We have $10,000 in mulch. When we need to buy grills, we have to spend $2,000 in grills. That'll be coming up. When we sandblasted tables, instead of buying new tables, we had parks tables taken out and sandblasted and recoated instead of buying all new. So we saved a considerable amount of money. So that was last fiscal year, I believe, end of last fiscal year. But so all these things, when we've had to remove a couple trees, working on some other stuff in the parks, just every single parks project falls under one of these, and that's where we bring the money in from for repairs and what.
Yeah, I think generally speaking, another thing maybe to take back to the commission, I mean, you've got all these set to be replaced. These are all our major playscapes replaced in the next 6 years. I'm sorry, in the next 4 years.
Yeah.
Can one or two or some be maintained using that budget so that we can push these estimated replacement years out by 10, 15, 20 years?
Play devil's advocate. If those are the legit replacement based on lifespan, we should just leave the years as is, and we'll have to have a plan to continue to maintain. But I don't think we should change the years if that's really the expected replacement year.
I'm trying to prompt questions for the park commission to consider. I'm not necessarily advocating we make a change, although I don't think we have a basis for really any of these at this point. We just know that they're in bad shape.
Well, they're all 20-plus years old, and it's a 20-year lifespan. Doesn't mean it won't get another 5 years.
And that's what we'll do.
Park could get another 5 years. I think the expert would be Pat, our maintenance guy, to go out and actually survey it, take a look at it, and give us some feedback. I wouldn't be comfortable looking at it and just giving my feedback, not knowing anything about playscapes.
What is in that column, estimated replacement year, is that estimated when you should or estimated when you're gonna?
I think for our planning purposes, it's got to be for when you're gonna, right?
That's what I would think. So then I would feel more comfortable making those numbers more realistic, because we don't have that money. It's almost guaranteed you're not putting $400,000 into Cars Playscape next year.
Yeah, I think
is that safe to say?
I could go either way. So on one side, you're right, we're projecting reality.
Mm-hmm.
On the other side, we are making a basis or case if these all need replaced, and we need to spend upwards of $450,000 or $400,000 or $375 per playscape in the next 4 years. We're making a case or building a case like we have to figure something else out besides the CIP.
Okay.
Yeah, because you got $1.5 million there.
Right.
The ask is $1.5 million.
Yeah.
Yes. We're asking $1.5 million for.
How's Pat at building pavilions?
And maybe keeping. I was just going to state that maybe keeping the estimated replacement year is what they are now, to allow Dawn to go back and show the park commission to say that, this is what the township is going to allocate for 2027 fiscal year. where are we going to look for other funding? So
Yeah.
if we leave them as they stand now, it will give her more defined of where they are going to have to look for grants,
Oh, absolutely.
maybe a millage, those types of things at this point.
Yeah, I think from our perspective in managing this capital improvements plan, like we need, with the parks specifically, we need an intervention. I mean, that's just the reality of it. And Dawn, I'm not picking on you.
Nope,
You've done a
nope,
great job.
understood.
So happy you're here.
Understood.
I'm not expecting you to, try and dissipate all this information back to the commission either. I think we need a joint effort between planning and parks, and maybe it's a meeting with all of us to really talk about where we're at with capital assets and make clear to the parks, that we got to figure out a different avenue for some of these assets.
And we have to have a strategy of what we purchase for the next, size-wise, maintenance-wise.
Sure.
I'm just thinking about, I was a kid growing up in downtown Temperance, and Car Park was my park, man. And I can tell you, the playground equipment wasn't near as fantastic as what's there now, and neither was the basketball hoops. But we played on them anyway, maybe to our detriment. But, we just have to think about what's realistic so that we can not have to foot the bill, pass the buck to later generations.
Well, and that's why, if there's a millage funding all of this right now, this all it needs to maintain in this CIP. Like, this is, no matter what, this all will remain in this improvement fund because of its existence.
Yep.
It's just, are you going to be able to? It's a lot of money.
Yeah, it's unfortunate it's taken this long to really put some plans together for the parks, right? But thankfully, it's being addressed. Well,
Yeah, and it's not. I mean, Dawn's the newest member, but even that whole board, that's not. I mean, they got handed something that's kind of, all right, here. This is your situation now, and you got to dig out of it.
And this is like, I'm not going to pretend this is like the easiest thing to even understand. We're projecting stuff that's, in other cases, 50, 100 years out in the future. We're trying to figure out what it would cost to. That's a lot of quotes. That's some work here, and it doesn't get done overnight. Mm-hmm. I think this has been very productive to move in the right direction. But there's a lot of work to be done still, and I think you're right. I think the Parks Commission, as it exists today, could do that work and do it effectively. It's just a means of communicating and really understanding what we need to do. That's the big thing.
It's a big undertaking.
I like the idea of having a meeting with the park board and the planning.
Yeah, and we'll work to get something scheduled so that we can have a more in-depth conversation on some of these items.
all right. Parking lots.
Parking lots. All right, so we added a lot of numbers. We raised a lot of numbers. Let's delete some items, right? Or move them elsewhere if we can. So repave parking. So we have 4 large parking lots valued at up to $500,000.
We need to put Wheeler Park on there too.
Good call. Wheeler.
Oh, Wheeler.
Does Wheeler have a?
No, it is gravel. Yeah, and then the gravel's good. So you could probably put 2050 on there or 2040 on there or something like that, but
So just generally speaking, do these items need to be in Fund 446, Bob? Should these be in? I'm sorry.
Should be in the Metro Act.
Should these be under Fund 245 Metro Act or 447? I'm sorry, I can't remember what was in 447.
447. If you don't want them in Fund 446, I'll put them in Fund 447.
Well, I don't want to say we don't want them.
Is that appropriate?
We add a lot.
That's
it
up to
seems
you.
like the other department heads are allocating their paving in other buckets. So it seems like we need to do the same with parks here.
446, the definition says public structures and improvements. No one's ever really defined definitively what a public structure is.
Clarification, though, if it's a rehab versus, say, they want to expand a parking lot into a new parking lot, do you look at that differently?
It depends on the size of the project. They talked about the painting before. So if they're going to do just like one small hallway, it come out of a maintenance budget. But if they're talking a major project, the whole room, you're redesigning, then that would be in one of these long-term plans, because it's going to take years to plan that out.
Okay, so,
Capital asset plan is also a long-term plan.
sure. So I just want to make sure before we start moving money into different categories, if we're doing it properly, or if there's, it sounds like it's a little gray, but if, for instance, we took White Park and then said we're going to make it all asphalt, would you as a money manager here, move it into 447?
Me personally, I don't define a parking lot as a public structure, so it would be in Fund 447.
Okay, thank you.
But I'm not an expert on the definition of public structure. So it could go in either fund if you make an argument for that.
Mr. Chair,
Jody.
Dawn would like to look at the list, and she has a couple of items she might want to add.
Fence for Wheeler Park. Now, on the sheet of paper that I have that was sent to me, it's on there, but it's not on this.
So I want to maybe speak to that. So if you maybe just click back to Pat's, Pat Mahoney spreadsheet.
Whoops, that's got to be here.
Google that. So Don, what Pat had distributed, as I understand it, was all encompassing for the parks, and it was meant to be a tool.
Okay.
And it would include large, medium, and small assets.
Okay.
So down to split rail fence, right?
Yep. Click on Wheeler.
The items reported on the CRP are just the CIP are just the large assets. So it's going to be your playscapes, your buildings, your pavilion.
Yeah, so the gravel lot's on there, but it does say 5 yards to cover playscape. I couldn't go in and edit that sheet. We don't have a playscape there, just 5 yards. You want to get rid of that type, under type?
Under type.
5 yards of playscape?
Oh, way over here.
Delete that.
So Don,
Playscape.
this spreadsheet from Pat, and I'm hoping that the commission has talked about adopting this, but we'll make sure you get edit access so that you can make these updates for Wheeler, for Ansted, and then others can make updates for their parks as well. Yeah, sure, Pat.
Originally, Jody and I talked about it, and we thought, let's not put chain link fences in here, but eventually you'll probably want to take an inventory of what you have and put them in each park. But that's a down the road thing, and let's get this down first, I think is what we were thinking.
The chain link fence, you said?
Yeah.
Well, Ansted already got hit. It got bumped, and the railing got taken out, so I'm worried about a chain link. Yeah, I'd be worried about a chain link fence.
It's hard. So yeah, it's hard to project or define structures. I think we have a pretty good list now. I don't necessarily want to add other assets to it at this
we didn't
point.
add fencing because if something happens and a panel needs replaced, you're not going to replace the whole fencing. We're going to fix what
It's a
needs replaced.
repair.
We're not going to.
Yeah.
If the chain link fence needs repaired, we're not going to replace the entire chain link fence at a park. And that's more why we determined that it's not really considered a structure of the fact that we're not going to replace the entire thing to repair even an 8-foot panel, and if it was a privacy fence that needed replaced. The township isn't going to look at replacing the entire fencing at probably even any of the cemeteries without it just being that section. So that's why we took them out.
I think that's fair. I think that's a good starting point. So as it relates to this spreadsheet from Pat, Don, if you want to communicate to the Parks Commission that or advocate that this be utilized across the board, I'm in favor. I think it's great. We are interested in just the large assets. So maybe quickly we can close the loop on some of these. If we just click through the tabs real quick and just make sure we have allocations for all the large assets in the parks, that's Pat's spreadsheet.
Oh, you want to go back to Pat's?
Yeah.
It's the upper third of the sheet.
Yep. So just that top couple rows there, four through 6 in this case.
So start at car.
Let's go across all these tabs and just make sure we've got something in our Fund 447.
So we're going to change that to 275, I think is what we put, no, 300,000 is what we put down for an estimate
I
replacement.
don't necessarily want to have Bob make any changes in here today.
Okay.
I'll leave that to you guys. I just want to run through quickly and make sure we are covering everything. So large and small playscape swing set, we have that all captured under our $450,000 item. Pavilion we have for car. Gazebo, we do have that in there. We didn't talk about it yet. And the hall, we do have that in there. We didn't talk about it yet. So that's covered. Do we have anything under that? Basketball courts.
There's that green building back there I learned is part of parks. Jake,
Oh,
you
yeah,
remember
the
that?
green barn that we noticed, yeah.
So I don't think we do have a line item for the maintenance barn over at car.
It's barn at car.
Or if we intend to replace that someday. But we may need to add to our
That
list.
is something, yeah, that's a pretty large structure. I have no idea what it's.
And they use it.
Yeah.
Pat says it's parks and he uses it.
Yeah, we call it a shed. Is that
Shed, there it is.
in reference to? It's a pretty big structure. It's probably greater than $15,000 cost.
Yeah, it's more like a pole barn than it is a shed.
So
I
maybe
would
we call
encourage the commission to have the parks compare from what is on the CIP and what is on PETS, and then whatever they find differently, and then update the cost-wise to go back and forth from PETS to.
Yeah, we
Ops.
don't need to pass this along yet. It's a working document. So you're probably right. We should let parks take another pass at it. I do maybe want to just hit on some of the high points, though. I think we need to raise the cost of the playgrounds, which we did. We raised the cost of the pavilions, which I'm not sure you did yet, Bob.
Pavilions, pavilions.
Current estimated value we had in the magnitude of like $50,000. I think we probably need to double those as well.
Okay, Cars Pavilion, where do you want that to be?
140
Replacement value for car that was quoted, it sounds like is 120.
without electrical and without some other stuff.
Yeah, but that's for full replacement of the slab.
125. We'll go 125. How's that sound?
Yep, I think that's more indicative. And since we roughly doubled that one, I say just double the rest for now. Because what we're trying to get a picture. These all need to be refined, like I said. These all need to be refined by the Parks Commission. But we need to know how much are we being asked to allocate for future years. And it's, as the conversations unfolded so far, it's a lot higher than we thought initially. So back to the paving. Sorry, we're jumping all around. Back to the paving, the parking lots. I'm in favor of taking those out of this CIP and putting them into other buckets. Like if we're paying for repaving or maintenance of lots, I don't know if those should be covered here.
Yeah, we talked about public structures, so, not to say that this is the definitive, but I just asked Jeb and I what a public structure is. And just for argument's sake, is any building or facility that is owned, maintained, or operated by a government entity for the benefit and use of the general public? So you could argue that almost anything is, right? The question is, does it belong in the CIP or is it a Metro Act? I don't know, right? But we already have parking lots in the Metro Act for other, like the township hall, so why wouldn't the parking lots for parks be in that same fund?
It would be Fund 447. Metro Acts is sidewalks.
Sorry, my bad, yeah.
But as a clarification, as my recollection is, the Metro funds are not generating that much. Roughly how much is that?
30 grand a year.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, it's nominal.
But Fund 447 is township assets that are non-structures, which I think a parking lot is a non-structure. I mean, it seems like that better fits in that category. And it maybe takes a little bit of load off the CIP for these specific parks items. Not to say we don't have to plan for it somewhere else, but in the CIP, we don't have to allocate for some of these pavement maintenance or replacements. Does anyone else have thoughts on that? Or are we in agreement on that, I guess, maybe? Does that work? All right, was there anything else on parks we didn't at least talk about? I want to make sure we talk about everything tonight so that we can all regroup or have some consensus.
Yeah, we got some other tennis courts, White Park, basketball court, ADA accessible.
How about if we go by parks?
Let's do it.
You want to do White?
Let's do White
You
Park.
brought that up just now. Here's everything I have in Fund 446 for White Park.
So couple of comments. So we already talked about all of them except for, so we need a sidewalk to the basketball courts to make them ADA accessible. Same thing, the pave the walking trail. The question is, do we need to make them ADA compliant, and does the paving make it ADA compliant? That I don't know. I don't think.
I believe, well, obviously paving does make it compliant, but I think the existing stone base is such that they put down is compliant with ADA. I think it's the stone that they've used, I believe.
I think it is.
So maybe if we get definitive on that, it's something we actually don't need. The tennis courts, those probably, I don't know what they look like. I'm just looking at that's another big ticket item right there. And it looks like it's ranking the ranking's a lot higher. I don't know which, if it falls into essential or whatnot. But it's already got it's already got over 50% of the funds allocated.
That gets used. I mean, that's.
Yeah, it does. That's a heavy use item in that park.
Because I guess where my mind goes, and I don't want to go here, but we've got a lot of money to put towards some of this stuff, and we have to allocate it. We probably won't get there tonight, but that's okay. Like, there are assets we can't really, at where we're at today, we can't put money towards because we don't have the money for it. And I'd hate to just like start cutting stuff out of our parks because our parks are great. But that is a conversation we will have at some point. Is we need to fund all these projects, and how are we gonna rob from Peter to pay Paul? We have to.
It'll stay on the list. It just won't get funding.
That's
move it down to acceptable.
That's what ultimately would happen. Yep. On the ADA piece, Jody, we talked about this I think previously. Is there a mandate coming down to make any of this more accessible for ADA? Not to say we don't want to do that, but
Can I comment to that?
could you? Yeah. Do you mind just stepping up to the mic?
We got people, well, first of all, go back a little bit with the playscapes. When we talk inclusive, my wife has students that are 27 years old that go to the playground. Okay, so that's one thing we need to take a look at very strongly. But in terms of when we take a look at ADA, if you had a kid that can't get on a basketball court, then just tell me that's not necessary. Because it is necessary. And when they built that basketball court, it was never done right. It was never ADA compliant, and it needs to be. So there really shouldn't be a question about it. It needs to be done, and it needs to be done now. So it's not about, no offense, Grant, about is there a law? It's what is the right thing to do.
I guess where I was going now
Right.
is if it's mandated by the state, is there state funding available to help with some of those type? I'm totally in favor. And
Okay.
We should go there.
I get a little passionate about special needs kids and so on. So
I'm just wondering, sometimes
Right.
when there's these mandates, like there's also funding put out there so that we can implement them.
I mean, we can check on that, and I have no problems ever trying to go for grants or go for funding, or like Barry said with Ralph Wilson and so on. I mean, we have the Bedford Community Foundation that we don't even really utilize a whole lot to go ask them, hey, what would this cost? Would you guys like to pay for it? A lot of times they'll do stuff, So, but yeah, that basketball court's been a little thorn in my side.
We could tell.
Yeah. Sometimes it was like oceanfront property. Then we had to go back and redo around the drainage and stuff too. So, and I go back to that is because we didn't use an engineer. I'm not going to say we, but the previous park board didn't use an engineer to do it. And some people think, well, it's just a basketball court. No, it's not just a basketball court. You got slopes, you got drainage, you got all kinds of things going on. That's why the pickleball court, we had an engineering firm do that. Plus, for liability. So I am more than happy to look for any kind of funding or whatever, but I just think that basketball court, it's not accessible, and it needs to be. Simple as that. So, and I'm happy to help Dawn go look for some money.
We have, I mean, as of today, that line item in the CIP is funded at $30,000.
It's already funded.
We've got allocated
Okay.
for that. So if that's the right amount,
Go.
We'll go do it.
Yeah.
So,
that's great.
so like I said, I get a little passionate about it.
Oh, I appreciate you. Thanks for stepping up to the mic. Any other comments on White Park assets? If not, we could maybe jump to car.
I was kind of going back to the not to harp on it, but the ADA for the paved walking trail. If it's already ADA compliant, then do we need to still do that? And there's 17,000 right there that could be allocated to something else. I think that's something the park board could probably.
Yeah, so we maybe need to, I'm trying to keep a list of follow-up items for the park commission. Maybe one of them is defining ADA accessibility at our parks. Do we have any structures or assets that are ADA accessible now? If not, what's our vision for implementing future ADA compliant and accessible structures?
I know on the new playscapes, they're going to make sure that they're ADA compliant. I can't tell you about what occurred 20 years ago on those playscapes.
Okay. Yeah, thanks for that, Jake. Anyone else have any comments on White? If not, let's jump to car quick. We can work through these in efficient time. I know it's 9:15, 9:20.
Zebo's already fully funded. Playscape's already got 208,000 allocated. Parking, we said move to the general fund, but there's 2,000 there already allocated. Can be moved someplace else. The pole barn probably needs a better estimate. That green barn is a pretty substantial barn. I'd be surprised if it could be replaced for 15.
And I wouldn't think it would need replaced in 10 years either.
Yeah,
What's the size of it?
it's big. Yeah, I mean, it's a legit pole barn.
So it's going to be 50 grand.
Yeah,
It's
I say we
60 by
match.
31.
there might be a picture of it in there somewhere.
60 by 31.
$170 a square foot, is that about right?
We should go no lower than the cost that the clerk's department offered for the maintenance
no-
shed.
Oh, there's one in the see the basketball hoop one, the green barn off to the right. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, it's pretty big.
Metal?
Yeah.
I think we had allotted like $45,000 for a 24 by 24 shed at New Bedford Cemetery. So I say we match that at least for today.
And then the community center roof, that's a long ways off. Same
We're
thing.
leaving that estimated replacement 2035 for that barn?
It's not in bad shape.
No, I would think that barn would be good for a while, I would think.
Yeah, I mean the estimate could be pushed out further if it's in decent shape.
Further?
That's fine.
Oh,
That's
no,
good
yeah.
For now.
I would say let the park commission determine if it's the year. Yeah.
That's good. So community center roof was replaced in 2024. We've got future replacement in 2045. And then what's the line? Could you clarify,
That's the
Bob?
whole community center?
The whole shebang, replace the structure. What's the line item below community center roof?
I'm guessing this is the building itself.
So we have $50,000. Well, so number one, we have replacement year in the same year. So if they replace the building, they likely replace the roof too.
You'd hope so.
could
And it's the
probably
same
make it-
cost. The roof costs as much as the building? I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I don't.
I think we got
That's
we
the
got
question.
some
We could maybe
numbers.
refine that. If we think the building's going to need replaced around the same time the roof's going to need replaced, maybe it's a
That's a
one line item.
pretty sturdy building. I mean, it's full brick.
Well, a roof is 30 years, right?
Yeah.
You got 20-year break there. You might want to go 2050.
It's not a shingle roof. It's like a rubber membrane, I think.
Well, they're supposed to be 50-year roofs, but tell me how I know they don't last 50 years. We had one leak.
Got the roof at 24 years out and the building itself 50 years out.
Yeah, and I'd be shocked if you could replace that building for $168,000.
Oh,
50
I mean,
years.
yeah, we.
But yeah, I think that probably needs to be.
How much
If that building's only
pavilion
50 grand.
You might be able to
in the wrong
replace
business,
it
I
for
guess. I don't know.
$168,000 today.
Yeah.
So we probably need to boost community center expected value by quite a bit.
Anybody know how old that community center is? I mean, it's been there as long as I can remember. Yeah.
We just had another park board member pass away too, Mr. Barr.
That's right. I think that one we need to like triple, quadruple.
I just can't imagine you could replace a building like that for 50 grand.
Oh,
I'm guessing a
200,000.
million.
I'm not a builder, but 200,000 is probably closer.
Well, to replace that?
It's brick.
The whole building.
It's black. The black is going to last a long
It's
time.
not big.
There you go.
Actually, I think Pat and I we estimated the size of the building in that Google Doc.
Well, there you go.
We took some measurements.
Yeah, if you have Pat's spreadsheet handy, what did we put in there? Pat had to step out. Pat had to leave.
Yeah. It does have a kitchen and a bathroom. Yeah. There it is. It's
Car Park Hall.
60 by 1,800 square feet.
So all in cost 326 plus 12 plus
Yeah,
20.
we use 170 square foot, so we said 326. 2050.
What's the sum of all of those, Bob?
375,000. Oh, I missed a line.
404?
404,000.
Yeah, but that's the whole building at the top one there. All those other items are just, other things that you might need to replace in a shorter time frame.
I'm saying full replacement of that building is going to cost you $400,000 at least.
Good.
If that's what we're planning on is full replacement, right?
Yep.
Bob upped it to 500,000.
I like it.
That's going to be short.
All right, so we added a zero to that one. Okay, anything else on car?
No.
What do we have next? Parmalee? Samaria?
Parmalee or Samaria.
Playscape we've raised. Pavilion we should raise. That's all. That's got some block. That pavilion is that's a stout pavilion. That's going to cost every bit as expensive as car park, I would guess. So that cost should be in the magnitude of like 120, I would say, more than 50, what we have allocated now for that pavilion.
This pavilion is currently not being used, is it? At Parmalee? It's boarded up.
No, it's in use.
Is it in use?
The inside, yeah. Well, no, the red pavilion over by the disc golf course and I mean, it gets used. There's a covered component. I want to say there's like a block building component too. I don't know if there's like access in there for.
Do they use is there that part of being utilized where they use for the football players and that for the concession stand?
No, this is like. I know it well because I've thrown a lot of discs into it playing
That's
disc
not
golf.
on there.
This is
So
like
that's a
this is on the other side of the park, like other side of the
where
park.
the basketball, where the
Yeah.
park is actually, the playground.
Back behind the place, yeah, kind of where your cursor is almost.
That is a park. Honestly, I think I've been there once.
Yeah, you can barely see it.
Somewhere right.
To the left of the.
Yeah, in here or in here.
Yep.
Yeah, right there.
Clear as mud. But it's a substantial structure. So to replace that, we're talking magnitude of like what was quoted for car park, I'm guessing.
Well, and we have data on how frequently they're used, right? Okay. So I mean, the question is, is it worth it? Too. Let's ask ourselves that. Is it just a tear down or is it a replace?
So Parmalee, let me write that down. Parmalee.
I don't even think it's on their list to rent.
Okay.
I've rented that one before.
Have you?
Mm-hmm. This was years ago.
Looks like you paid somebody maybe.
Somebody scammed me.
Somebody pocketed that $25.
I did pay cash. Wait, hold on a second.
Yeah, sure. Take it for the day.
So pavilion, I think we raised that cost, but let's just double it for now. But we need to circle back with parks about their intent on probably all these items. Gazebos maybe are another one that we should ask, like, are those getting used? Because we have a lot of gazebos that we're allocating $30,000 to replace. Like, no, are those structures that you want to rebuild that we need to put money aside for? Is people using them? That type of thing. And
We just need to ask our questions around practicality. You know, obviously we can't support everything. We know that, right? And it is, do we need it? Do we use it? And if no, then maybe it's a tear down.
Yeah. If one pavilion gets used 50% of the time, you eliminate one and
Keep the other.
get the other one used 90% of the time. If people don't mind driving a little bit further to go.
these are the questions we just, I think as a commission, that would be worth asking.
Yes.
Samir, what is, okay, so we've kind of talked to, there's the community center roof, yep. Community center replace. What is revitalization? There's no funds assigned to it, so I don't even know what that is. It could be just
I don't know
remove
if
as a line item.
Was that line item defined by parks, or did we throw that? I shouldn't act like I did anything. Bob, did you put
I
that in?
have no idea where that came from.
It'll come back if it's really needed. I think you remove it.
Yeah.
There's no money assigned to it anyway.
It's not ranked high.
The community center replacement, I think you just match. It is almost the same exact structure as what you got at Car Park. You know, it's a block structure, probably about the same age, same equipment.
How about the years? Any guesses?
I mean, that's got to be in the same ballpark of age as car and condition. And we had 2075, I think, maybe, or 2070. I guess it's probably not far off where you have it. 2075 works.
I'll be almost 100 years old by then, so that's a good day. Yeah.
Our kids will get to use it.
Yeah.
It'll be great. Yeah, gazebo's fully funded as of now. We have the money, right? Or we don't have money allocated
No.
to that. I'm looking at future expected replacement.
Oh, no, it is. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, it's got.
The
it's
community center roof, we're just over halfway funded. Gazebo, we are funded. This is where we start to talk about, and I'm picking on gazebos. I'm not just saying we slash things from the CIP, but we have $20,000 to rebuild that gazebo. But if you come back and say nobody's used it in the past 2 years, we could delete that line item and take that money, put it somewhere else.
Well, yeah, you'll pretty much have the roof paid for, which is definitely needed. I know people rent out that community center.
Yeah. Yeah, which then, you don't need to allocate towards the roof, and you can allocate towards a new playscape. Like we've added we've added to the values of a lot of these things, but also where we can optimize and subtract, I think that's where we want to head to, without absolutely slashing our parks. Chase, did you have something to say?
What did we have for the Samaria roof?
56 or 50,000.
Okay, how many years? So we just completed repairs on Samaria roof. We had a tree bump into it, so we had a roofer up on the roof this year, not too long ago, and I think we put $1,000 into it, and he didn't report any other serious things. So I think that's a good idea to probably get another look at it and push that out a little further, probably than 4 years, if we can.
That's a good call. Yeah, if it's operable and it's got just recently had a repair, that's a great idea. Just push it out, and you can move I don't know if you want to move the funds because it's already got allocated. You're going to want to get it at some point. So,
and
I would leave money in that because it is not a brand new roof, but yeah.
To get on my soapbox again, and Pat left, but keeping track of all this, like, you've been a great repository of information, but I don't, somebody has to be managing this and to have it tracked in some form. Maybe it's Pat's spreadsheet. Like we just did rehab, let's bump this replacement year out. Yep. And then when we communicate next time with the planning commission, we can make the same
Yeah,
adjustments.
it's just about managing the assets. I think that sheet is just a simple way to manage the assets and have an idea of what condition things are in. If it's an annualized, each year we go out and we take a look again, perfect.
And I don't know if I know that's kind of park commission scope, but if the supervisor's office wants to have some engagement in helping manage or track with them to help with the continuity, that might help too. I mean, obviously you've had a lot to share tonight. I'm not trying to sign you up for more jobs because I'm sure you're busy, but that's, just trying to make it work for.
Quite honestly, that's the struggle, right? Because park board changes.
Right.
There's always turnover, and the information is not always translated.
My last parting note is if the spreadsheet was submitted as is, you would need about $1.2 million in next year's budget
Yeah.
to make the plan work.
What do we have?
What's the problem? I don't understand.
Just put it on your credit card.
So our actual, Bob, available in next year's budget as of today,
It'll be,
it's 530. Is that what that is? Couple of
total allocated, you have $1 million allocated. So there's $1 million in this fund right now.
Oh, so you're
to be allocated next fiscal year.
To be allocated next fiscal year, it'd be around $400,000.
That's what we have available, but what we need to allocate as of today.
Oh,
No, we have it allocated already is the 1,019,000 from 24, 25, and 26. In 2027 fiscal year, saying you have around 400,000 to allocate for this fiscal year, right there.
Right. That's what's available, but I guess what I'm trying to communicate is
Sorry.
oh, Jody, that was you.
Microphone, Jody.
We have currently $400,000 that we can throw at this whole collective spreadsheet, and we've just identified much more than $400,000 in additions total. I mean, we're just talking about allocating for next year, but we have to do this annually. So the bucket that we have to work with is small. That's why I think there'll need to be some more back and forth with parks about how we fund some of this stuff, because as it exists today, we could dump a lot of money or allocate a lot of money for fiscal year 2027 into these playscapes, but if there's a means to fund them some other way, we might be serving ourselves better to put money elsewhere. So that's why I think this is a conversation, and there's more to come.
Now, I think if I'm not wrong, we went for a grant and was it for the playscape?
Yeah, we wrote a $750,000 grant. We scored very high. Unfortunately, Mylan got it because our poverty level was too low.
Gotcha.
Theirs higher than ours.
So we're talking about additional funding and grants, but that's been tried.
Again, and we're probably going to apply again and see, because Mylan won't be eligible. They already got their
Right.
funding, so you just never know.
For those listening online, a grant was applied for valuing $750,000, which is measurable. Like that could pay for 2 parks, right? And it was won by another municipality just north of us. Yeah, I think that might be something to tap into. If we could get that, that'd be awesome. I mean, that would greatly take the stress off this CIP, which I think right now we're busting at the seams. Going to be trying to figure out how to allocate this money. It's going to be difficult. So we'll do that next time.
The good news.
Priorities.
The good news is it's the same in each one of these funds. They're all short. So this is not unique to Fund 446.
It's like sometimes it's the same in my own bank account. How does that work? Who's getting all this money? Sorry.
well. Good news is at least we know instead of not know.
I think this is a super helpful and valuable meeting, and thanks for all the input, because I think we have a better picture now than we did 2 hours ago as to what we need to plan for. Obviously, it's going to be a continuing conversation as we work towards populating column M, which is what we're going to allocate in our next fiscal year. So there'll be meetings to talk about that in the future. But this has been extremely helpful. I think having workshop format like this was helpful to me. Hopefully it felt valuable to you guys too. Does anyone else have any closing comments before we table this for another discussion later on this year?
Nope. Make a motion to adjourn.
We got a couple more.
Yeah, I know.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dawn. Very much appreciate your efforts in the parks. And Al and Chase, thank you too for your input. All right, we'll move on. Item 8A. Now we're on item 9, public comment. Anyone from the public like to speak? Sorry we kept you waiting so long, Ms. Keene.
You got to take care of business. That's all that matters. Gail Kane, Temperance. Let me try to keep my notes straight here. As far as the cemetery, I think you need to establish whether the township is required to have one. The monies that the cemetery took come out of our water fund, so they're paying that back. As far as the structures there at the parks, the shelters are used all the time, but not always rented out. The Summer Parks program uses them a lot, and so do some of the other out-of-state groups will come in and use them, but they don't rent them. As far as the playscapes go, from what I remember of times past, there is a liability, so when the company comes in to put them up, they usually have to have that. The current group, Pat got certification for. You change the company, you're probably going to have to change some of that. Questions with the ADA ground service, that would probably work better than any kind of mulch because otherwise you've got an issue with animals and hygiene. You should consider a millage. You've got monies, you know what stuff's going to cost. Now's the time to do this. Previously, there was a millage. They went to renew it, and they wanted to add extra. The township said, we will not let you have 2 millages, so you will combine them. And the people spoke and said, we would have renewed it, but we didn't want the increase, so they lost all of it. We do need more property, so don't ever poo-poo any kind of property. You need to have it. You're going to keep adding houses and people, you got to have some green space, people. The other thing with your millages and stuff with those 2, which is why I think you should do it, is very soon we're going to be facing the same issue with the fire department. They have 2 millages. Not only do they need those renewed, but we need to increase it. And this is a definite thing that your townships need to have. I'm assuming that the parks was under 446. I was trying to follow all of that. Do you get a professional assessment from an assessing group for your buildings and your properties here for the township? I don't know how that comes into play. Thank you for trying to keep Banner Oak. We cannot let loose of our historical stuff. In fact, we need to be labeling them and making sure that we're keeping them. The other thing that I wanted to question, which was reason for coming tonight, was I'm curious if Mr. Montre will mention, since he's the township liaison, the concerns that were presented at the last township meeting.
Nope.
In changing the ordinance for a specific group of people. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Keene. Anyone else from the public? Item 10, information. Jody, anything for us?
Yes, we will be having a meeting February 11th. Please let me know if you cannot attend. As previously stated, I have 2 public hearings that night. Otherwise, I have nothing. Thank you for an eventful, informational meeting. Y'all have a good evening.
Thank you. Item 11, commission and staff comment. Mr. Montre, want to start us?
The first rule of economics is scarcity. That's a quote from Thomas Sowell, and it's good to remember in times like these. I thank Dawn and the supervisors department and Pat for being out here tonight. It's greatly appreciated. and helps this type of meeting be very effective. And then I would add, I would have, if I known they're just not going to show up to meetings, before officer voting last meeting, I might have reconsidered who I'm voting for officers. That's all I have.
It was very informative, but I have nothing to add right now.
Okay. Barry, anything?
Nothing.
Jake?
No comment.
Jody? Bob? Katrina?
I just need signatures before everyone leaves.
Okay, we can get you that. Anything else over there? All right, I want to reiterate what Craig said and thanking everyone for coming out, for all the input across the board, and for this commission and the good discussion and thoughts. I think we're moving in the right direction, which is good. So appreciate all your time. Definitely value it. All right, with that, I'll adjourn us. It is 9:40 p.m.
This is actually pretty short.